have entered the PM Entertainment Podcast.
Well, hello there, PM Entertainment fans, and boy, have we got an episode for you. Fantastic interviews, incredible discussion about this movie. But first up, I have to apologize because during the Rick Pepin celebration episodes, I missed reading out 3 emails that had come in to our inbox, and I really do feel terrible about that. Because these wonderful people had written in about Rick, and I didn't include it in that episode. So, if you don't mind, and I really hope you don't, I'm going to read 3 emails that we received from our listeners and fans on Facebook that celebrate and talk about Rick Pepin. So, here we go. Starting with the first one. This is from Keith McAfee. You'll see him commenting on the Facebook group all the time. He's incredibly enthusiastic and one of our number 1 fans on there and friends, and I can't believe I didn't read his email. So sorry, Keith. Here it goes. An ode to Pepin. A man is sometimes judged by what he leaves behind. Pepin left us a legacy of films which include tough guys with long flowing hair and cars flying through the air, dudes going through plate glass windows as if they had a buy 1 get 8 free sale, guns with unlimited bullets being shot by guys with mullets, sitting on the edge of your seat while some scumbag is being dangled over a ledge. I loved every moment of the PM Entertainment ride with Rick as a fan and wouldn't change a thing. To be immortalized on the big screen with the greats, it's an honor that you truly deserve, good sir. Well, thank you ever so much, Keith. That was a beautiful tribute, and I'm glad we finally got it up on the show. Next, we got an email from Virginia Rout, who is another person that you'll see commenting on the Facebook page all the time, which makes me feel even worse that we didn't include her email when the first show went out. But here we go. I'm going to read it now. We're also, from everyone here at the PM Entertainment Podcast, sending great congratulations and celebrations as I believe Virginia is getting married. So that's very exciting. And just wanted to say congratulations on that, Virginia. Okay, so here we go. Some people make the world a special place, and I truly believe Rick Pepin was one of those individuals. I never knew him personally, but I saw the impact his career had on so many people. He brought a sense of wonder to true action movie diehards and launched the careers of talented young actors. He also helped people on his technical crew get their start. In fact, I noticed that the same names would often return for different projects, even for movies with very different concepts. Rick Pepin had a knack for bringing back the same team to create something new. He must have had incredible intuition and a great rapport with everyone he worked with. The series he produced, LA Heat, actually changed my life. I can't even begin to describe everything that 90s action show gave me, but for a long time my goal was to do the same thing. Not produce films, but write stories and scripts for detective stories. I also had another, more personal reason for loving that show. Today I write professionally, though not stories. Still, I'm convinced my entire life would have been different without that show's influence. In a world that can often feel monotonous and ordinary, Rick had a knack for bringing an extraordinary touch of entertainment. And that was from Virginia Rout. And lastly, we got an email from Marco Fritas. And he writes, "Hello, my name is Marco Fritas, and I've been a fan of the Pepin Mehi universe since watching The Glass Jungle starring Lee Canalito back in 1990. I was always amazed at how good the company's action-packed movies looked. They were like Tony Scott-helmed features, but done on the budget Scott had for catering. May Mr. Pepin rest in peace. Hugs from the south of Brazil, Marco Fritas." And that was it. So we got 3 emails that I forgot to read out because I'm a big loon, and also because sometimes when you're editing these long shows with a lot of stuff going on in them, they just simply skip your mind. But if you want to email us and leave us any commentary that I can also forget to read out on a future show, you can always email us at pmentpod@gmail.com. That's pmentpod@gmail.com. You can call us and leave a voicemail at 347-669-0053. And please, if you're enjoying these shows and you want to support the shows and you want to encourage me to get them up quicker, please rate and review us, share everything online, share stuff on Facebook, share stuff on Instagram, tell your friends, tell your family, do all that good stuff because it really, really, really helps and we need it. So thanks so much. And here is the show you've been waiting for. Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the PM Entertainment Podcast. This episode, we are talking about Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter from 1995, written and directed by stuntman extraordinaire Michael Eubanks, who currently has a YouTube channel I just discovered today where he talks to other stunt people about ridiculous stunts that they've done. So that's a great channel. Go check out Corey Eubanks's Stunt Stories, I think it is, on YouTube there. It stars Clint Howard, Rance Howard, Riff Hutton, Matt McCoy, David Rash. Oh my goodness, David Rash, what a legend. And a whole bunch of other people.
And Zachary Ty Bryan.
Zachary Ty Bryan, of course, as the wonderful Cody.
What other name could he possibly have?
Not annoying kid whatsoever. It has, in terms of PM Entertainment All-Stars, it has the composer Louis Fabre, which is a well-known name at this point on the podcast. Cinematographer Ken Blakey, you heard him last week on the Dark Breed episode. But those are your PM Entertainment All-Stars. And our guest, you heard him just now on the show this week, is a returning champion actor, writer, producer, director, the man behind Riot at the Movies, Terrible Fest in Toronto, and Video Hosers over at WOC Archive on YouTube. It's Mr. Adam Thorne, live from Canada. So how you doing?
Thank you for having me back, John. This is a great movie to talk about on this wonderful day, as it is Bigfoot Awareness Day.
It is. It is National Sasquatch Awareness Day. I had no idea till my friend Owen, who is the largest cryptid and Sasquatch fan of all time, pointed it out to me. I immediately dashed off to Photoshop and made a little post so I could put it up on social media. But how advantageous that we are talking about the first in three film run of cryptid Sasquatch movies that PM would make. None of them are related, particularly. Matt McCoy does crop up in Little Bigfoot, but not as the same character. I mean, he plays a sheriff, he plays a man of the law, but not the same character that he is in this. And apart from that, there are no other connective tissue, I don't believe, between Little Bigfoot 2, and Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter. However, PM Entertainment obviously saw money in them there Bigfoot Hills, and we can only thank them that they did, because my goodness, what a lovely film we got out of it.
I'm disappointed that they didn't make To Catch a Yeti with Meatloaf.
Right.
That feels right up their style and alley. It must have just been the times, I guess.
Or Sasquatch Cop, where Bigfoot comes down from the mountains, right? Works.
Don't give me ideas.
Works in Los Angeles as a cop. It's one of those movies, like it's one of those like Beverly Hills Cop, like a fish out of water story, where he's used to patrolling the woods, but now he's patrolling the mean streets of Los Angeles, and it's him and pick your, like, is it Gary Daniels he's partnered with? Is it Wings Hauser he's partnered with? Who are we partnering Sasquatch in PM Entertainment's unmade Sasquatch Cop?
It won't be someone as cool and as tough as Gary Daniels. It'll have to be a more like side. Well, we mentioned or before we were recording mentioning T-Force. Why can't I think of his name? Who's the star of that?
Yes, Jack Scalia.
Scalia, yes. I think he should be the guy who's really upset that he's been stuck with Sasquatch the whole time. Yes. At the end, they learn to be friends.
It's a remake of T-Force, but in modern day Los Angeles. Well, modern day meaning the 90s. 90s Los Angeles with Jack Scalia. And just like he's robot racist in T-Force, he's Sasquatch racist for the first half of the movie. That's perfect. It's just a T-Force redo, but in modern day Los Angeles with Scalia and Bigfoot, and they have to solve a related like cryptid crime.
Now, unlike his television series that was the Turner and Hooch ripoff known as Tequila and Benetti.
Yes, indeed. And wasn't that a talking dog in that one as well?
Yes, but he only talked to us, the audience.
Okay.
But Eddie couldn't hear him. We just knew
not like the one
grumbling.
with Peter Boyle where he talks.
No, yeah,
Okay.
it's not at that level of I'm a dog now.
Well, well, sir, as is customary on the PM Entertainment podcast, let us get right to the chase and ask you, our guest, to go through the plot of Bigfoot, the unforgettable. It's so unforgettable that I keep forgetting what the full title of the movie is. Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter.
I always want to say adventure. That sounds more right.
Or journey. I always want to say journey, but then that's Little
Right.
Bigfoot 2, The Journey Home.
Oh. But they all feel like they are unreleased sequels to Neverending Story. But anyway,
Yes.
If you were to take the actual just plot of this film, like the basic plot that you're advertised in this, it could be so many films that are ET ripoffs. It's little boy finds a mystical creature which protects him from a bear, and then the people, the adults, they want to exploit it, so they take it away, and he cries and has to get other adults to understand him to save it and let it run free, like any family-oriented Bigfoot film, or again ET.
Right, indeed. And what is particularly great, though, in this movie is all the different groups of adults. And they're all trying to exploit it in their own way, except maybe Matt McCoy and his partner. Maybe they're a little bit more understanding to it. But in general, everyone is trying. The scientists are trying to exploit it. David Rash is definitely trying to exploit it. And his...
the mayor.
Yeah, the mayor is trying to... Everyone's trying to exploit Bigfoot. And the wonderful scene is, of course, that Bigfoot saves the boy not only from a bear but from a bear trap.
Right.
And then when Bigfoot himself is captured by the scientists, the little boy looks at Bigfoot in the cage, tears in his eyes, and says, "He saved me, but I did not save him." Which is just...
And then turns really dark. Everything gets really upsetting after that.
It does. It gets really dark.
Yeah. I almost want to go backwards with the film, but we'll go forward with it for now. The one thing that is the selling point, at our shop that we do a lot of events at in Toronto, Eyesore Cinema, we had on the wall a not for sale copy just stuck onto the wall of this tape for years, and it was always like, someday I'll watch this with what the one of the three boys from Home Improvement that was not JTT, but it still has three names: Zachary, Ty, Brian, who to me was the most annoying one of the three brothers. So it was like, I'll wait.
Yeah.
But
and he is the most annoying thing about this movie.
Yeah, even his like other youth character friend whose real name is Jojo. I don't remember what his name was in the film. It just
is he his brother or friend, or what is he?
Yeah, I think he's just his friend, but at first they kind of allude as if he's his brother, but then they don't seem to react the same way to their parents. It's vague from when the last time I went through that. I had to like, I'm pretty sure they were just friends, because I had to rewind and go, wait a minute, you don't care about the same parents. Anyway, that could just
and
be
it's a PM Entertainment movie, so they only have first names.
Right. Yeah. And so it's hard to track. I was kind of expecting there was going to be more of a relationship with Sheriff guy who was once also in Police Academy. So
he takes over from Steve Guttenberg in the
right.
role of the Bugs Bunny-esque character at the head of that franchise.
Well, if I remember right, people write in the comments and let me know if I'm wrong. I believe he was supposed to be the nephew of Lieutenant Lassard, so that was his way of writing him in. But then he only lasted one movie as well, I think. And somebody else took over after that.
Maybe I thought he did two.
Maybe, but there's a couple, and they all blur together after that. Post my Miami movie, I get confused after that.
Yes, but no, he also had a wonderful run of softcore erotic thrillers in the 90s as well, did Matt McCoy, which is always odd to me because he seemed to ping between, family friendly fare, Police Academy, which is sort of teen young adult fare, and then like full blown, Skinamax.
Well, hitting it
movies
at like
with-
exactly 1990, that boom of cable stations that were coming out with HBO being the cool new thing.
Yeah.
You had actors who could just sort of blur the line there. And I think that really makes him a working actor. That's why he's not a household name. Other than being from Police Academy, he's a one-time priest on an episode of Golden Girls on one of their Christmas specials.
He is indeed, yes. He was in Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach, and Police Academy 6, City Under Siege.
Ah, all right.
Yeah. And then, of course, because by the time you get to Mission to Moscow, I don't know how many of the original crew are left. I think there's only like about 4 of the original, 5 of the
like
original crew left.
Tackleberry, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I think Bubba Smith came back. And in fact, actually, I don't know that Bubba Smith came back now that I think about it.
If he did,
I
think
only
it's a
watch it
cameo.
till 6. I don't watch Mission to Moscow.
And you got a Ron Perlman bad guy, and it's still a terrible movie.
It's still a terrible. You got Christopher Lee in that movie, and it's still a terrible movie.
Well,
but but no, yeah. So he was. I mean, he did stuff like Fraternity Vacation. So he did get his start in kind of sleazy TNA teen flicks. He's obviously in Hand that Rocks the Cradle, which was, I think, a fairly big movie of its time, and oft ripped off and oft copied post that movie. But then, at the same time as doing Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter, you've also got the wonderful movie In the Heat of Passion 2, Unfaithful. And
I'll be noting that movie down to watch later.
And don't worry, it's a Roger Corman sequel, so you don't have to watch In the Heat of Passion 1 because Corman was just like, if the title works, let's just make more movies and give it a sequel.
There's so many times it should still be done, but sometimes maybe not. Yes. The other actor that super stands out for me, you could hear it in your voice, the praise for David Rash, who in my youth, Sledgehammer. Yeah.
Yes.
But then I used to think all the time, what happened to him? But even in recent years, he was in, and I'm going to say the show's name wrong, but it was one of the biggest shows on TV for the last couple of years.
Succession
with the McCulkin and with the original Hannibal and all these other great actors.
He's in 31 episodes of Succession. Yes.
Succession, yes. And that was like, it was almost the Sopranos of its time for a little bit there.
Completely.
And it was one of those shows where I hadn't known anything about it until the last season, because everyone's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's ending." So that's when I even found out about it.
Yeah, he's he is amazing. He's also cropped up in some Coen Brothers movies. He's in Burn After Reading.
Right.
He has basically done at least one episode of every TV show you've seen in the last 40 years. He, as we said, he was in the wonderful Sledgehammer for 2 seasons, one of which is a meme that's been going around. Basically the one, and it's sad that it's a meme because it's the one sequence in Sledgehammer where they completely ripped off Clouseau in the Pink Panther, where in I think it's the Revenge of the Pink Panther, he's walking around Oktoberfest and there's all these assassins trying to kill him and they all keep failing and end up killing themselves. Well, there's a sequence in Sledgehammer that's very much the same, where people try to kill him and he doesn't. And that's actually been doing the rounds lately as a meme. I've seen that crop up on Instagram and Facebook and various other places as a sort of funny clip from an old show that nobody knows what it is except we do, because we remember Sledgehammer, and I have the DVDs. He's also in, I just watched the wonderful John Candy documentary, and although they did not speak kindly of this movie, in fact they just lumped it in with a whole bunch of others as flops, he is in Delirious, the very weird John Candy movie where he writes himself into a soap opera. So he's a soap opera writer who's under stress, hits his head, wakes up in his own soap opera, and has to write his way into becoming the hero of his own soap opera. And it's one of those sort of early 90s, late 80s sort of concept comedies. I love it because I love the ones where John Candy, like I love Armed and Dangerous. I love Who's Harry Crumb.
Probably one of my favorite is Armed and Dangerous. So underrated. Not enough people know about that one.
Yeah, and I love Delirious and other ones, but unfortunately in the documentary they were lumped in as just the flops,
Yeah.
and they didn't go too much into it. But so he's look a great actor. He does comedy, he does serious. He can spoof himself. In Delirious, he's definitely doing a heightened version of kind of soap opera David Rash, and in this, in Bigfoot, he is having an absolute ball in this movie. I mean, the sequence in the study where he's talking to the guy about his plans and what he wants to do with Bigfoot, and one of his subordinates says, oh, this is ridiculous, or something like that, or says, this is a joke, or I don't believe this, or something like that. And Rash stops what he's doing. He's like, what do you mean you don't believe? What do you mean you don't believe? And then he just goes, what about the bones? Let me get started on the bones. And he does this big soliloquy about Bigfoots and cryptids and bones and how they compose different in the wood than they do in the desert and all this sort of stuff. And the guy's just like dumbfounded. He's like, whatever, dude, all right, the bones. And then Rash immediately goes back to the guy with the plans and goes, right, where were we again? And just on a dime goes straight back to being straight-faced and serious and whatever. So yeah, what a wonderful performance in this movie.
He's playing it like a 1970s comic book villain,
Yes.
like a Norman Osborn kind of character,
Yeah.
which we'll know. And I don't know if you've ever brought this up with other things about PM in general. A lot of times when you get bonus stars in a film, you'll find they'll have like one scene where everyone's together in it, but throughout the movie you could tell that's like the day they had that actor or something.
Yes.
So you get all their scenes separately.
Yes.
He doesn't really have a lot of time on screen with other people except for his thugs, and then the mayor later on, but which makes you think he decided this is how I'm going to act, and they're like, yeah, sure, that's how the movie's going to go.
Yeah.
And then the next day when they film the other actors, they're like, maybe it should be this kind of reality, because
Right.
he definitely seems like he's as if you were supposed to know who he was. He feels like
Right.
when he first appears, as you said in the study scene, it's definitely missing a little bit of an intro to who he is, as if you were supposed to just already know that he was a character.
Yeah, I mean, we see him very briefly at the very beginning when we introduce our interview guest on this week's episode, Clint Howard, and he calls Clint Howard up. And again, I think this is great PM like screenwriting in the sense that they're like, well, we've got Clint Howard for 2 days, and we've got David Rash for maybe a day and a half, and we've got Matt McCoy for whatever 3 or 4 days. So normally David Rash would probably just show up and be the big game hunter or whatever who shows up and, starts annoying everyone. But we don't have David Rash long enough. So he sends Clint Howard. So then you separate that character into like two things. Clint Howard then becomes his like emissary on the boots on the ground at the beginning of the finding of Bigfoot for the first half of the movie, before Rash is like, right, I guess I better show up, and it's wonderful because you then get Howard and Rash. You get a little bit of both. You get to sprinkle them throughout the movie. And a wonderful thing that happens with Clint Howard in this movie is that we see him wake up. Rash calls him up in the middle of the night because Rash has been waiting 30 years to find Bigfoot, right? And when he finds out that someone's actually captured Bigfoot, he calls Clint Howard up in the middle. Can't even wait till the next morning. He's calling Clint Howard up in the middle of the night. Clint Howard is sans toupee, sans wig at this point. He's the Clint Howard we know and love with the mighty skullet that he rocks all the time. And I've got to love a Clint Howard skullet. It's fantastic. But then when we see him boots on the ground, when we see him talking to the local townsfolk, he's got this wonderful thick black toupee on. And it's never mentioned. It's never commented on. It's just this like extra layer of, well, if he's going to be talking to people, he needs to look the part. You know what I mean?
That's why I thought he was a politician.
Right.
I immediately, because the way when he's speaking to the town and he has a wig on and he doesn't know what he's talking about, it has this incredible freeze up in front of the people.
He does.
That's why in my brain I'm saying like, oh, he's the mayor, but he's just another guy in this. I thought in my brain he was because he's a representative to the town at the beginning for him.
He's the Smithers to Mr. Byrne, David Rash's Mr.
Right.
Byrne.
Okay. No, I thought he was a politician and the town knew who he was.
Okay.
Because they seem to already be prepared for him. And that's why they're asking him those questions very early on. And is maybe my favorite scene. I want to add do an edit where I add in like Twin Peaks music in that scene where all of a sudden when he has that like stumble and he just sort of doesn't know what to say to the people. And it's so real.
The best thing, so my favorite thing about this movie by far, and I have lots of things that I love about this movie, but my favorite thing is obviously because Bigfoot has been found, there is a gaggle of reporters that are just around like throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. And you see them, but then off screen when you see the person who's talking to the reporters, they've ADR'd a bunch of like lines that the reporters would say. And there's this great bit where the scientist is saying, look, calm down, be quiet, you're scaring him. Calm down. And you hear off camera one of the reporters go, we're trying to. Jeez. And it's so like obviously ADR. And it obviously makes the director obviously got like a gaggle of people around a microphone in the studio. And during the Clint Howard scene where Clint Howard is like talking to the thing, you hear all the people in the background kind of going, is this legal? Is he an endangered species? Does the park, you hear all this stuff and it's clearly all ADR lines, but it's kind of wonderful. What does the guy say that's amazing when he says, he said, what's he gonna do? Stuff Bigfoot and place him on a big pedestal of some kind? And it just cuts back to Clint Howard and he just goes, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Which I think is so phenomenal. Yeah. But
maybe I'm just living too much in a Trump era again, where I see a man in a bad toupee standing there just saying, are you going to just ruin the world? And he just says, yes.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's what I'm here for. But no, and I know we're diving in and stuff. Let's quickly go back.
It's the PM Entertainment Bullet Points.
All right, here we go. We have gunshots. Man in Bigfoot suit runs through the woods. Drunk throws knife into cabin wall. Bigfoot campsite attack sequence, or is it? Kid gets leg caught in bear trap. Bigfoot and giant bear fight. Bigfoot tracked by scientists in a helicopter. Perilous ridge climbing. Bigfoot saves female scientist. She fires a tranq dart at him twice. Car chase, shots fired, truck goes up an embankment and flips over. David Rashi goes to shoot Bigfoot. Rashi is tackled and arrested. We have gratuitous stock footage alert, gratuitous drunk hunters around a fireplace scene, gratuitous hippie Bob Ross, gratuitous Misty Veils, Clint Howard's gratuitous toupee, gratuitous Bigfoot and shades, gratuitous comedic crowd reactions. And that's it. It's not a particularly action-packed movie, but what there is a delight. We start the movie like all good Bigfoot movies need to start.
Like a horror movie.
Like a horror movie with the drunks around the campfire. I mean, how many times, how many Bigfoot movies have we watched where there are drunks around the campfire? Probably the most starry of which is the Abominable movie, which has Jeffrey Combs and Lance Henriksen and whatever as the bums around the campfire.
That's the best scene in the entire movie. Right.
It is a fantastic scene in that film. We get a PM version of this, and these guys are attacked, and it's implicated that they're attacked by Bigfoot at that particular time. The family then show up, and just as the family are like having their wonderful time in their cabin and stuff, and the kids have gone off wandering by themselves in the woods, Riff Hutton shows up and he's like, oh no, you guys are gonna go. We've got something killing people on the mountain. But unfortunately, the two kids, Jojo and
Zachary Ty
Bryan, Jojo and Zachary have done the wonderful thing that kids do. They have got to a clearing and they've gone, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's split up. And that's literally a line of dialogue to which everyone in the audience goes, nope, that's a terrible idea. So they go either way, and they're meant to meet on a ravine. And what ends up happening is on a ridge line. And what happens is, of course, Jojo gets to the top of the ridge, and it's just like, oh, that guy left me. He must have left me or double back. Oh, screw it, I'm going back to the cabin. Goes back to the cabin, and Zachary Ty gets completely lost, and is left on the hillside overnight, which means Matt McCoy and Riff Hutton, and of course the worried parents of Zachary Ty Bryan, then all stay on the mountain to try and find the kid. Then the next morning we get the aforementioned Bigfoot versus a bear sequence, which like I went into this movie having never seen this movie before. I don't even know that I watched the trailer. I went into this movie and I was like, I want hobos around a fire arguing and drinking and bickering about whether it's Bigfoot or not. I want Bigfoot fighting another beast, a bear or a crocodile or something. You know what I mean?
It's your King Kong beginning.
Yes.
When King Kong fights a monster for a second, and you forget that scene happens.
Right. And then I want, a big wealthy industrialist and or big game hunter or something to show up. Those were the three requirements I have of a Bigfoot movie. I got all three in spades in this film, which I was very happy about. But let's talk about Bigfoot saving the boy. The boy is approached by a big bear, gets scared, runs off onto the mountain, gets his leg in a bear trap, and then Bigfoot shows up.
Which seems to be one of the most humane bear traps I've ever witnessed.
Yes.
Because it did not leave Zachary Ty Bryan's foot a bloody mess.
No, it left. He had some. Luckily, he was wearing industrial thick jeans, I think.
Yeah,
because he had some blood. He did have to go to the river afterwards and wash off the blood. But yeah, he was fine. What do we think then about the Bigfoot versus a bear scene?
I mean, it's almost on level of the two times Lou Ferrigno fought a bear. Yes. When once as the Hulk and once as Hercules, jumping between real bear and back profile of fake bear back into real bear. I was almost expecting Bigfoot to just throw the bear into the sky like in Hercules.
And what do we think about how bold PM are here? They have decided from the get-go, oh no, we are showing Bigfoot. Like this is our Harry and the Hendersons. We're not being coy about this. We are showing Bigfoot in all of his man in a suit splendor. We're not showing a paw here and a snarly face there and a big foot, literally a big single foot here and track. We're not building this up. We're 10 minutes in and we're going to have Bigfoot fight a bear in broad daylight.
The beginning when the drunk hunters or whatever get attacked by it does do the mystery bit where it's like it's a claw, it's over the shoulder. Yes. And even seem to make his arms shaggier than he is when you see him. He's much more coiffed when he shows up to save the kid. Because if you did keep doing it as a mystery, it would be a horror film. You would have to just show it. One of the weaker parts of that, other than the fact that as soon as you see him in this very happy face that he has, you immediately think Harry and the Hendersons, which is unavoidable. But he has the craziest eyebrows. I don't know what expression. He has a very big mouth to show that he can smile, and these sort of whoosh eyebrows that make it. It's supposed to be so he's not a scary monster, but eventually I don't look at him as a Bigfoot anymore. I don't know what I think he is, but he becomes something else.
Yeah, I mean, so I respected the decision. I was like, okay, let's go full boy. It's a man in a suit. I want a man in a suit. I don't necessarily want a photo real Bigfoot. I certainly don't want a CGI Bigfoot. And I maybe if it was they've never really done like a big budget, like Harry and the Hendersons is the closest we get to like a big budget, fully animatronic, Jim Henson puppet style Bigfoot. We've never had, say, like
I think it was a Stan Winston, wasn't it? I think.
Was it Stan Winston?
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe or either of that level. It's at that level.
That's what I mean.
And nothing else has been.
We get.
Yeah.
We've not had like the the Godzilla or the Jurassic Park or whatever version of a Bigfoot movie.
Right.
Most of the time in, as you say, horror movies, especially low budget ones, they'll spend some money on a really great mask, and they'll, spend the money on maybe like a good claw or a good foot. But then, like I say, they film it in pieces. You never really see the big, more like what PM Entertainment do in Dark Breed, where you see the alien here and there, but you never really see it in its full form in daylight.
Because again, that's scary.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's more scary rather than. But this one's got to, it's got to pick up a kid and put it on its shoulders. It's got to like, learn how to shake hands with a kid. It's got to be able to wear shades at one point.
They bond really quickly.
They really quickly. Well, Bigfoot is, I mean, Bigfoot from the get-go is benevolent Bigfoot. This whole movie could just be called Benevolent Bigfoot. Because even when he fights the bear, he does so only to get it away from the boy. You know what I mean? He doesn't, if he wanted to kill it, he would have thrown the rock at its head. Instead, he throws the rock at its hindquarters and it runs off into the woods. That's Bigfoot being benevolent Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Or he's just picking his fights.
Or he's just picking his fights, right? But I kind of, in order to enjoy this movie, you have to respect that they've gone, yes, it's a man in a suit. We're going to have some animatronics in the face, but it's going to be one of those animatronics where it's like the guy who did it is like, well, the lip moves and the eyebrow moves, and that's all you can do. So throughout the movie, every time it cuts to Bigfoot, his lips are just going all over the place, and his eyebrows are going all over the place because it's the only facial gesticulation that he's got.
The only times throughout the entire film that an emotion ever seems real seems that they set the face and then looked at him.
Yes.
But when it moves in shot, it's very wrong. Like it feels like some sort of an AI glitch. Like,
yes, it's Uncanny Valley Bigfoot.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it could be benevolent Bigfoot in the Uncanny Valley. That's what it could be. But again, it's a PM Entertainment joint, and they've gone, right, we want to make a family Bigfoot movie. That means it's got to be mostly at daytime. We can't have too much gore. Although weirdly, yes, there's a little gore at the beginning with Bigfoot gets clawed by the bear, and we sort of see a scar on his back. And we see a little bit of blood on Zachary Ty's jeans. But then at the end of the movie, you go through the movie and it's a relatively blood-free, action-free, kind of very family, it's the machinations of human beings more than it is a Bigfoot movie. And that,
or the Mac and Me's.
Or the Mac, right.
The very tall Mac and Me film.
Yes, and in fact, that's probably the closest to like the facial gesticulation, like creep factor.
If Matt met one of the adult aliens, not the kid alien, and that's what the film was, it'd be this, right?
It'd be this. And then at the end of the movie, where you get sort of the final PM action sequence, Rash and his hench people actually have like blood all over their faces. You know what I mean? When they get out of the car, they're all bruised and bloody, and it's not an A-team thing. Like, they don't get out of the car and dust, some mud off their shoulders. They're like all bloodied up,
Well, and I'd say we're jumping ahead to get to that part, but after you've got the bear fight, you've got the bonding with the kid, and then yes, the scientists have the Bigfoot.
Right.
There is a jumble of 90s family movie character plots in the middle that do all kind of slam together, which is probably the biggest weakness of this film.
Right.
But yeah, we can't waste time by saying, when it comes to the final moment of the film, like the big action sequence at the end of the movie, it's like they said, well, we don't know what to do. What would be with a Bigfoot? And they just said, wait, we're PM Entertainment. Crash cars at high speed on the highway and direct it like you don't know what film we're doing this in. Just do it for any of the other films, because there's guys shooting while hanging outside of the cars. There's moving from vehicles to others. It does everything that any except looking a little bit more like a small town America instead of like some neo-noir highway somewhere. But other than that, the stunts and the way that that's done is exactly like, that's where you realize you're in a PM Entertainment film. That's the linchpin that connects them.
But it's still, for my money, it's still PM light, meaning you don't have Cole S. McKay, you don't have Spiro Rosados, you don't have Broadway Joe Murphy, you don't have a big stunt crew, right, on this movie.
A car doesn't explode and then spin twice into the camera.
No, there are 0 explosions in this movie,
Yeah.
which is very disappointing. And I have to say, what I liked about this movie was that it is paced great. There isn't really, or even with all the muddled middle bit, it's short enough scenes and enough is sort of seemingly happening that the movie keeps going. You know what I mean? It never feels like a slow movie, or it certainly didn't to me. So I was thankful about that. What I thought was the biggest weakness of the movie is that of all the PM Entertainment all-stars or regulars that they have on the shoot, the ones they don't have are the stunt guys. Now, it is written and directed by a stunt guy, but I think clearly the request of Joe and Rick, I've got to imagine, was no, this is going to be a family film, and not a family film in the way that the martial art stuff like A Dangerous Place,
Yeah,
Magic Kid, and those kind of movies, which still have a lot of action in them. No, we want this to be, G. This isn't even PG. This is going to be like G, maybe a slight PG at the end because there's blood or whatever. But like in general, this is a G is what we're going for here.
Dangerous Places, that's such a PM mistake in a way. You're right. I wish it did do that because an adult like me would remember it. Because some of the greatest things about Dangerous Places, it's so by the books, a family movie, a Karate Kid movie, and then about 3 or 4 times really adult, dark, violent things happen,
super dark,
so
super
not
weird.
appropriate, but no one reacts to it in the same way they don't react to Howard's wig.
Yes.
And so it's like they didn't know that's what the ending of the film was going to be. But in this situation, they have, as much as it does turn into on comparison to the rest of the film, a big action set piece.
Yes, it does. No,
it's still a family movie.
Yes. And what I'm saying is, I understand, like, even if you made this movie exactly the way it is, I would add 2 things. I would add some form of action sequence, even if it's just a 5 minutes, no blood, no death, whatever, but just some form of action sequence right in the middle of the movie. I mean, I know they have like the scientist climbing the rock and she almost slips and Bigfoot saves her, and they have like the guy hanging out of the helicopter tranking Bigfoot or whatever. So they have like a little thing, but
that does seem in the long run that it's not memorable on comparison to the rest of them. It seems almost too easy. It seemed like that should have been the big build up to how, once you've got the scientists in place, once they've got there should have been more chase. There should have been a fail.
Yes.
And then they'd get him later or something like that. But
yeah, so what there needs to be in the middle of the movie is Rash needs to get Bigfoot alive. The scientists need to chase Rash, find Rash, break into his compound, whatever it is, and get Bigfoot back. And then at the end of the movie, you have Rash chasing the scientists, and it's a race to the finish line to the government-protected parkland or whatever it is that they're going to take Bigfoot to. So that you got like 2 extended chase sequences. I think the problem here is that you don't have that action sequence in the middle of the movie to like fully PM it, and then at the end of the movie, while you do get like a mild PM kind of car chase, like you say, guys hanging out of cars, and Rance Howard shows up and nudges David Rash's car a little bit, and then Matt McCoy comes back and nudges his car a little bit. It's not the, if you're gonna do that for your regular PM viewer, you're gonna want to go all out at least at the end of the movie. And so if I give it any serious downgrades, that's what I'm missing here in the movie.
Well, and even to even if you weren't going to make it explosive or more dangerous, it is oddly dangerous driving they're doing for this movie.
Right.
But again, as a PM Entertainment fan, no, it's Sunday driving.
Yeah.
But if you wanted, what gets to me is if you took out Bigfoot from that situation of that car chase, it would be the same movie. If
Right.
some point Bigfoot should have done something that caused that, like he should have taken over the truck and driven it himself, and then he stopped it, or he found a Bigfoot car. He found the
Right.
Bigfoot and drove it with him. It was a car chase with a Bigfoot driving a Bigfoot.
Or the guy literally says, one of the scientists, because the scientist has lackeys as well. She has like two or three. She has one oddly German guy with her, and then another guy. And at one point, he says, "We don't have enough tranquilizer to keep him under for the whole journey." And he's like, "Oh, I have an idea." And they put him in this truck, and then they strap him down, and blah 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 blah. What needs to happen in that final car chase is Bigfoot's in the truck and the family's all there and blah 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 blah, right? And it Rash should have been like, keep banging on that car and keep like almost knocking it off the mountaintop to the point where Bigfoot goes rah, and like breaks his straps and jumps PM style from that car to the other car and starts throwing lackeys out the window. That's what needed to happen.
Just, or even just a horrific, if you want to do it cheap, a horrific bump scene where he flies out of the truck and just smashes window first right into the lackeys. And then you get your explosion.
Yes, exactly. So I agree with you. You either needed Bigfoot to suddenly become a part of the fight. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He's proved twice in the movie already that when his people, the good people, are under attack or are threatened in some way, when the scientist falls down the mountainside, when the kid gets his leg caught in the bear trap, whatever it is, Bigfoot's there. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to fight a bear. I'm going to jump down a mountainside and grab you and save you. I'm going to do that. I'm Bigfoot. I'm here, baby. Here I am. I'm going to take so Rash threatening Bigfoot's new family. You know what I mean? He should have got angry. Should have hulked out and, had that moment. Instead, what you get is this very odd, again, they kind of, I think PM knew that they had kind of a bit of a dud at the end, and they were like, well, how do we add momentum to this car chase where it doesn't have it? And so they then decide, we are going to have 8 groups of different people around the country. Some people in a newsroom, some people in an office block, some people in a bar, some people in a whatever, who are all watching this chase. Because of course the news guy is also part of the chase. So all the camera angles that PM are filming are apparently the news guy filming. So you get that wonderful trope of, we now go live to the chase. And really it's just the movie being played through a TV, as if the news camera is somehow editing in real time. And you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, right?
That trope of putting it in where everyone's watching.
Yes.
Where this small town is now being viewed across the world, giving it to me more of the ending of Airplane 2, when they're like showing different channels around the world saying the lunar shuttle is going to crash.
Yes.
Because the audience, I think it's at a bar that they're looking up at the TV, and there it shows a car zoom into the camera, but then it shows them watching TV of the 2 cars driving away. But when the car drives into the camera, the audience at the bar all flail backwards and go, ah! Like, as if they're watching it in 3D or something.
So I feel like I feel like they watched the end of this movie without the audience reactions, and when we need something and we don't have the money to film any more car chase, so let's just go to 3 or 4 different locations that we have within spitting distance of the PM offices, fill it with a bunch of either PM workers, actors, stuntmen, whoever it is, and just have them go, ooh, ah, at the TV. And that'll, because there's this whole thing where Rance Howard, out of nowhere, we meet Rance Howard for 30 seconds earlier in the movie, and then suddenly he's back at the end to like save the day. And a guy literally barges through a crowd and goes, wait, what's that? Rance Howard's name is Brandel. And he pushes through the crowd and goes, wait, is that Brandell? And I'm like, how do you know who Brandell is? But Rance Howard shows up in his truck, and it's meant to be the dun da da da, like here comes Rance Howard to save the day. It's so weird. They have so many characters by the time this movie is wrapping up that you have Rance Howard is the hero, the young boy is the hero, Matt McCoy is the hero. Like there's too many heroes, you know. So you get Rance Howard, and then you get Matt McCoy turns his Bronco around and manages to get back in the chase, and everyone's like, he's coming back. And we even cut to Riff Hutton, Matt McCoy's partner, who goes, "Yeah, get him, Sheriff." Like suddenly everyone's involved.
Just to remind you that it's a relevant character, other than just a cameo of related actors. I had played this trailer on one of my YouTube shows before, and the main reason to play it, because really, like I said, it blurs into the basic plot of any family movie about a young boy who finds a mystical creature. But the trailer really emphasizes on these cameos that are all the star, as opposed to cameos and a star. Zachary Ty Bryan has actually a lot less screen time than all these people. Granted, I think this might have been made when Home Improvement has started, so he was probably the most in-demand actor on the show. I think
I don't know. Let's have a look.
Their time very closely overlaps, at least. But
is Zachary Ty Bryan in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift?
What?
He is. Talk about a movie like Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. That's one I need to like. That's one I need to like go back and watch again, because it's a weird cast.
And it's very weird that they later in one of the movies, like it's like it was the secret fan movie. So every so often they name drop it in the later movies.
They bring the main guy back, the guy with the thick Southern accent and the bad fitting teeth, Lucas Black. They bring him back a few times in the later movies to try and tie Vin Diesel into the franchise.
And they make it, there's a time skip somewhere in there where they're like, oh, this movie took place before that, so that's
4, 5, and 6 take place before Tokyo Drift,
right? Because we later find out that's when the character died. Whatever. Zachary Ty Bryan does not show up in the rest of Fast and Furious, and maybe is a loss. I don't know.
I would bring him back in X Part 2, Fast and Furious, Fast X Part 2. But no, so he is, yes, he was slap bang in the middle of his run of Home Improvement. Home Improvement was 91 through to 99. This movie comes out in 95. So, and his most prominent movies are Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, The Rage Carry 2, and Home Improvement. Those are what he shows up on one episode of Burn Notice.
Probably as Zachary Ty Bryan. Someone's like, hey, aren't you that kid from Home Improvement? Shut up. That's his cameo.
Yeah. He's in 2 episodes of Veronica Mars, 1 episode of Buffy, 1 episode of Smallville, 1 episode of ER.
But if you were, if you did your, well, the problem was that famously a lot of those kids, especially in the 90s, always had parents who were taking all their money. But I know the youngest kid had a big problem with that. But if you did a show that level through all of the 90s, I mean, what does it matter? Sure, maybe show up in Sharknado 7 later on for a cameo.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, how he was able to get away to do this film must mean they only had him for a day or two as well, because it goes into like child labor laws. If he's doing that show and then he's able to go out somewhere, probably, I don't know, was this filmed in Vancouver or something?
Right, because it's not like Michael J. Fox when he was doing Back to the Future and Family Ties. He was already an adult playing a teen at that point, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whereas Zachary Ty Bryan, he was born in 81.
95, so he's still a young
13,
teenager,
14 when this movie is made. So child labor laws for sure.
It definitely, if they weren't, Home Improvement wasn't going to give him a chance to be late. They weren't those studio sitcom shows in the 90s were like, crack the whip and you do what we tell you to do. So,
but also what's funny is I feel like if this movie was made in 1985, where in the 80s, kids movies, like even the kidliness of kids movies, even E.T. originally, I know Spielberg went back and CGI'd in walkie-talkies rather than guns, but even in the original E.T., there are guns and there is like real peril. The kids are running away from the military and people who are trying to, kidnap. Flight of the Navigator is another one that's like, not only is it a spaceship full of weird, mad puppets and spooky, creepy beasties, but again, at the final sequence, like the military even tried to kill Alf, the friendly alien. So, like, in the 80s, there wasn't so much worry that, like, most movies, even the G ones, were PG-13. Like, even like Gremlins was a family movie. We all sat around and watched it at Christmas time. And she literally talks about how her dad dies in the movie, in the bleakest, a dangerous place. Again, the brother is seen having hung himself from the basketball hoop. Like a fucking teenager committing suicide. Although
Savage Streets and Dangerous Place borderline in way more levels than you think they would.
Oh yeah, completely. So there is definitely a feeling that Bigfoot: The Unforgettable Encounter could benefit greatly from that PM. However, all that being said, because I like to review it, the movie that it is rather than the movie I wished it was.
Yeah.
I am enjoying all the cameos. So I am enjoying, the Clint Howards and the David Rashes and the Matt McCoys and whoever the scientist woman is. Also, the last line of the movie trying to crowbar in some sexual tension between Matt McCoy and the scientist woman that was never there in the whole film.
No.
The last line of the movie being, well, I'll need your phone number. And then she has like a sly look on her face. I'm like, wait, when was that? When was that a thing? When was the will they, won't they between Matt McCoy and Crystal Chappelle?
Right. I remember looking her up too.
Crystal Chapel.
I believe that's how the trailer said it, because she was the one person when they mentioned the names that I didn't know offhand, but I'd recognized a couple of things that she'd done. Again, I feel like the film had maybe I'll give you too much credit here, but I feel it had like rough drafts of where a possibility was that any character could have been in the film more.
Yeah.
And she's done so many things, but she really hasn't done that many things, because if you look at just searching her on Google, her sixth film says Bigfoot: The Unforgettable Encounter. So,
but get this. So she was on Guiding Light, the TV series, for 426 episodes. She did 861 episodes of Days of Our Lives, which she was filming while this movie was being made, unless it was during hiatus. She does 18 episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful.
Right.
And 8 episodes of Beacon Hill and 66 episodes of Venice, the series, whatever the hell that is.
Right. That even came up at number 1. Again, the thing I respect, and people on my shows will hear me talk about a lot, of just a working actor, that they are famous to a name, to a group, but you look at just the body that these people were constantly working. So I mean, that shows a mature actor in there, which gives the possibility that they probably thought, oh, we could have had a second storyline with her. They could have given her more. They left it open, and they're like, do you want to do it? You got 3 hours left to work with us. No? Okay, fine. We'll just put more David Ration. That's fine.
She also appears in the 2 Days of Our Lives spin-off special episode movie length ones, Night Sins and One Stormy Night.
Oh, but she wasn't in Passions, where there might have been a Bigfoot, so forget it. I'm out. Yeah.
But no, so yeah, Bigfoot. I love that she was doing seemingly, at least 2 soap operas at the same time, because she does 3 episodes on One Life to Live as well. She's also in 2 episodes of Silk Stockings, and what's incredible is that almost everyone in every PM film that I've ever talked about has Silk Stockings on their resume, whether they're a stunt person, whether they're a second-tier actor, character actor, or a guest star. Silk Stockings, so many people did an episode of that while doing PM films. So
Well, that was what I was talking about of the early HBO sort of movement. There was a bit where like, and being superstars being on Tales from the Crypt, which again was being advertised by the. If you did a product like that now, the studios would now think of you less. But and we talked about that with Matt McCoy. He seemed like a guy who wouldn't be shocked if he showed up in an episode of Silk Stockings.
Oh, I've got to believe that Matt McCoy is. If he's not in an episode of something, I would be very, very surprised because almost every single kind of person of that ilk that we've talked about in the PM Entertainment podcast, Silk Stockings is sort of the ever-present mid '90s, TV series that they all seem to show up on, and it is on Tubi, I believe, or is it on Amazon? It's on one of those.
It was on Tubi at one point, even up here in Canada's Tubi, which is different. It definitely was at some point.
Come on, dude. Let's see. Gotta have been on an episode of Silk Stockings. You were in LA Law. You've got to do an episode of Silk Stockings.
Did Corbin Bernstein ever do an episode of Silk Stockings?
I don't know.
Oh,
It doesn't look like he ever did Silk Stockings.
I'm shocked. But there's many look-alike guys. Every decade has a guy like him.
Yes. He does do Snapdragon, the movie.
Right. How could I forget that? Of course.
With Chelsea Field and Stephen Bauer.
Mm-hmm.
So he is in Snapdragon as Bernie. As is wait a second. As is Rance Howard, as is other PM alum Kenneth Tiger from Rage and Riot and The Underground. I mean, and Kenneth Tiger also played the police captain on LA Heat, the TV show that PM Entertainment spawned.
Yeah. Well, again, it's all the same time, and again, feels like for Canadian listeners out there, we had Showcase Entertainment, which was a channel that just played that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It played the US Up All Night kind of thing, but it also played Silk Stockings. It was the place where Canadians could see Tales from the Crypt, but it was also all of those random 90s American produced shows probably filmed up here that history sort of forgot. I recently went through a run of watching the show Nightman, and everything about that, the same level of production feels, and a lot of the same actors appear from it, some connection to the studio, or at least the same agency. They were using the same agent for all these people because they got a deal.
So just to clarify, earlier on, we were wrong on both counts about who did Harry and the Hendersons. It is actually a Rick Baker makeup.
Oh, right. Yes, right.
So Harry and the Hendersons is actually a Rick Baker makeup. So I just wanted to look that up because I know we were talking around that subject. So I just wanted to make sure that we get that in there.
I can even visualize seeing him in some behind the scenes thing for it. But
and it also features, Howard Berger works on it, and he's of course from K&B Effects, who had done a bunch of stuff in the horror movies in the 80s and then went on to become literally the biggest practical effects house that Hollywood has ever had. K&B Effects, and Greg Nicotero is the guy obviously behind The Walking Dead now. And is it Creepshow that came back on Shudder?
Yeah. Creepshow, yeah.
That came back on Shudder. So yeah, that they are, again, top of the line special effects prosthetic artists. So no disrespect to whoever did the makeup effects on Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter, which, by the way, I will always forget the name of that movie.
So it's the forgettable title.
Yes. Well, it just seems like the wrong words.
Right.
Unforgettable is not a good title word. You know what I mean?
No.
An encounter does
ironic as that is. It's not.
It's not. No. I wonder who did do the makeup. So we have Steve Fink, who is the prosthetics technician. And we have Jory Janae Maguire, who is the makeup artist. And the guy who is in the suit, which I've got to believe is an off-the-peg bought suit, based on the fact that almost during the fight, the top half of the suit, which is very clearly disconnected from the bottom half of the suit, almost rides up and shows the t-shirt he's wearing underneath the suit. But Bigfoot is played by Gary Malenkon or Malenkon, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, whose only other role was in Forget Paris as a basketball player. And he was a basketball player, clearly, because he's also in Rebound, The Legend of Earl the Goat Manigault, which was directed by Eric LaSalle, of all people, from ER and from Coming to America. Steve Fink is known for Star Trek Nemesis, The Rocketeer, Deep Rising, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Buffy the Vampire Slayer for 28 episodes, Galaxy Quest as part of Stan Winston Studios, prosthetics in End of Days. He works on Angel as well as Buffy.
Right.
Charmed he works on for a while. X-Files, Alien Resurrection, Men in Black, Batman and Robin. So he went on to bigger and better things. At this time, though,
maybe all he did was make the eyebrows. That's all he did.
He did. Interestingly, he did work on Harry and the Hendersons, the TV series, as the prosthetics technician for that show. He is the he special effects makeup on Critters 3. He works on Land of the Lost, the 90s version of the TV show. He does the special effects makeup for Ernest Scared Stupid, along with the Chiodo brothers.
Yeah.
And he works on Army of Darkness. He works on Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. So, yeah, he was a fairly big deal. They probably spent some money on old Finky when they wanted to have their prosthetics work.
But he was the kind of thing where he built part of the face for them and said, there, do what you want with it. So, but put my name on it.
Yes. I mean, let's say that then. Let's say that he taught one of the gaffers how to move the remote control. Right.
He built a thing and said, stick a face on it. Dude, here, there you go. This is what it does. Yeah. But if you screw it up, it's your problem, not mine. But
interestingly, he does work with PM again, although this was on a production that they did that had multiple production companies. I mean, they still helped make it and produce it, but it was in conjunction with a bunch of other people. And that's a new PM kids film that I've just recently discovered and purchased on VHS, and that is Storybook. From 1995. He does the special effects makeup on that. And that has Swoosie Kurtz in it, Richard Moll, Milton Berle, Jack Scalia, Jimmy Doohan is in that movie. So, yeah. Again, filling their kids' films full of random cameos.
I'm honestly shocked that you said Richard Moll as in Bull from Night Court, which yes. I'm surprised he's not in more of their films because his 80s horror acting and non-Night Court stuff really fits in, especially children's entertainment, spooky movies and things like that. I felt like if secretly he's in more than one of these films that we talk about, I would not be surprised.
I would not be surprised either. But yes, Fink does 2 PM entertainment movies, this and Storybook, and he, as I say, has an illustrious career. So good for him.
Yeah, just not a prime example, probably.
No.
Yeah, I think specifically when we think back on the beginning of the crazy chasing we talked about, and they talk about tranquilizing the Bigfoot, and he's in a cage in the back of the van, and he's just laying down face first in the hay and doesn't move. There might not be anyone in the suit during a certain few shots of that. It's just laying down and you don't even see the face. So there's your reasons for cutting corners. That's their answer to, we'll only show half the creature for when we don't have a guy to get in the suit. We'll hide his face.
I've reached out to Corey Michael Eubanks. So he's a stunt guy. He's worked with other PM stunt guys as well, because he does Fast Five with Spiro Zartos, who had got on to Spiro, who did a bunch of PM, went on to the Fast franchise. When the Fast franchise came back at last Fast 4, Fast 5, Fast 6, when they came back, Spiro jumped on those. He's a boxing guy doing a boxing tournament in Southern California. Corey was discovered in his gym and cast to play the role of a young boxer in the feature film The Sting 2. He is the son of actor and TV personality Bob Eubanks.
That's what it is, right? Yes.
He was the professional stuntman on the television show The Dukes of Hazzard. He also works on the A-Team, Hunter, and The Fall Guy. Ends up doing a bunch of stunts with Tom Cruise. He works on Far and Away, Mission Impossible 2, Vanilla Sky. He works with also Spiro Rosatos, who worked on Midnight Run with Robert De Niro. He does Backdraft. He does Cobra. He does Get Carter. So, yeah, he's a big time stunt guy who's worked with a whole ton of people. What's interesting is, and I want to go to his directorial work because he's only directed 8 things. An episode of Silk Stalkings. Not kidding. In fact, he directed 9 episodes of Silk Stalkings. He directed 1 episode of Renegade. The 2 movies, though, that he makes for PM Entertainment are decidedly kid-friendly. He makes Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter that we're talking about today, and he makes Two Bits and Pepper that has Joe Piscopo in it, which is a movie about 2 kidnappers hold girls for ransom. The kidnappers are outsmarted by the girls, along with horses that can talk to each other.
Well, of course they do. Either that or someone's uncle is an alien in it. But
right, no, that's so yeah, Dennis Weaver and Joe Piscopo star in Corey Michael Eubanks' Two Bits and Pepper, and to also bring it up to modern days, was one of the stunt drivers on One Battle After Another, which is obviously the big Paul Thomas Anderson action movie with Leonardo DiCaprio that everyone will not stop banging on about online.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, as we were just talking about him, how about we jump over to our interview? That's right, our interview with Corey Michael Eubanks here on the PM Entertainment podcast. We also have a chat with Clint Howard. So it's another loaded episode. That's sometimes why they take a little longer to reach your ears, is because we just keep getting these incredible interviews and wanting to share them with you, but also wanting to do them right and edit them and get them all cleaned up and everything like that. So I hope you appreciate that. I hope you appreciate these 2 interviews that are coming up. And if you do, and if you like this podcast, and if you want to support us, and if you want it to continue, then the first thing you need to do is tell everybody. Tell all your film fan friends, tell all your action film fan friends, share it on social media, talk about it on social media, re-gram it on the Instagram, whatever they do these days. I don't know what kids do these days, but I put it up on Instagram so you can share it if you want on your stories or something. But also rate and review us, wherever podcasts are found. And just in general, support us. It would be wonderful if you could. Anyway, no problem if you don't. This content is still free and it is still amazing. Here we go with our conversation with director of Bigfoot, The Unforgettable Encounter. It's Corey Michael Eubanks. And then following that up with our conversation with none other than Clint Howard, the man himself. Enjoy. Thanks ever so much, Corey, for agreeing to do this interview today on the PM Entertainment podcast. It's a real pleasure to talk to you, sir.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you for inviting me. This is to me kind of an honor. I appreciate you thinking of me and reaching out.
Oh, of course, man. No, of course. We were very lucky to speak to Spiro Rosatos early on in our process of doing this. I'm still trying to get hold of Cole McKay, but obviously with PM Entertainment being such a known for their stunt work, even on the budgets they had, speaking to you guys in the stunt world it's one of my favorite things to do as a fan of the films and as a fan of movies in general.
That's awesome. Hey, just for a second, going back to Spiro.
Yeah.
He and I go back a long, long way. I was one of the 3 DGA members who signed his card so he could become a director.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
But people don't know, man, when Spiro was doing stunts, he was phenomenal. He was an athlete, and he did some incredible Dar Robinson style and caliber of stunts. He was really an incredible athlete.
Yeah. Obviously, I know that you guys worked on the Maniac Cop franchise together. You worked on Midnight Run together and a few others, I think.
Yeah.
And I was gonna first ask sort of how you got into stunts in general and what kind of inspired you, and then secondly, kind of how you got in with PM Entertainment. But initially, how did you get involved with stunt work?
Well, I was brought up around it. My father, Bob Eubanks, was a game show host.
Yeah.
Did the show called The Newlywed Game, but he was a weekend rodeo cowboy, and he would take me out to a place called Paramount Ranch in Agora Hills.
Yeah.
I'm, 5, 6, 7 years old, and I was exposed to Hal Needham, the Terry Leonard, Billy Burton, all these guys. James Caan would be out there, Steve McQueen, and I would see these guys at the Western set back there doing stunts and stair falls, and even saw him roll a car one time. And I'm like, Dad, what are those guys? He goes, oh, those are stuntmen. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a stuntman. I didn't know you could make a living at it, though. I had no idea, but yeah, that's what got me. I mean, from a young kid watching them do their thing, I was exposed to it. That just looked like it was in my DNA. I wanted to be a stuntman.
And you were right in the right decade. I mean, 80s and 90s, golden era of action. Millions of movies being made every single year, both from the big companies and also the independents. So I'm sure you had your pick in a way of sort of all the different movies that were being made. But how did you come to PM? We were talking about Spiro. Obviously, he ended up, his name kind of becomes synonymous with them in a way at that point in his career, as does Cole S. McKay. And you did a couple of things with him. Was that how you kind of got to know of them, or just did all stunt guys at that time know that PM were heading in that direction with the big set pieces and stunts and things?
I didn't know, to be honest with you. I didn't know that PM Entertainment existed.
Okay.
And I was determined I just finished a film I wrote and played the lead in called Payback with Michael Ironside. And we sold that off to Republic Pictures. And I was getting ready to do another film of my own that I wrote, and I was going to play the lead. And I had Michael Ironside again and Don Swayze. And I met an actor named Brian Avery. I believe that was his name, Brian Avery. Yeah. And he was telling me about this movie he just finished working for this production company, because we were talking about distribution. And he was like, who's going to handle your foreign distribution? I said, I don't know. I'm maybe Cinetel, or I don't know. And he told me about PM Entertainment. And so I started looking into it. And gosh darn it, I think it was Brian Avery who introduced me to George Chamy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was their overseas sales agent. Yeah.
Yeah. I had shot a trailer for that Forced to Kill movie that's back over your left shoulder.
Yeah.
And went to show it to him. And he says, hey, I could take this and go do pre-sales. And that's how it all started.
Yeah. No, I was going to bring up Forced to Kill. And in fact, I rewatched it again today. It's great. It's fantastic. It's
you don't have to say that just because I'm here,
Dude, I'm not. I loved it. We'll get into it, but I loved it. I noticed that it was sort of, at the very beginning, it sort of says the PM Entertainment Group, and I think like the Eubanks Film Group or something. So it was obviously partially co-produced by them, but obviously most of their regular crew and producers and things, their names are not on the film, because I presume you kind of brought them a finished thing and they just sort of took it over the finish line. Is that what it was?
That is correct. I brought them the finished product, but I was able to fund the film because they went and did pre-sales. Yeah. Okay. So I was using the money that they got from the pre-sales for the production of it.
Right.
And
okay.
So we were our partnership. But as far as on set, it was all of my crew members I had been working with down in San Diego for Stu Siegel Productions, doing shows like Renegade and Silk Stockings.
Yeah. And you had a fellow stunt person, Russell Solberg, who I think you met. Well, I don't know if you met him then, but you worked with on Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Was the first credit I could find that you kind of have both worked on together.
Well, let me just interject real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was John Schneider's stunt double on the Dukes of Hazzard, and I was Tom Woolpat's stunt double on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that's where we met back in 1981. We met on
Dukes all right. Okay.
So yeah,
that's something that your IMDb doesn't have on it. Then.
No.
That's something I couldn't find. So okay, great.
My dad knew the executive producer, a guy named Paul Picard, who had hired my father to do the Newlywed Game.
Yeah.
So when I said to my dad, God, I want to work on that Dukes of Hazzard, I want to jump that General Lee, my dad went into his office and made a phone call.
Yeah.
Called Paul Picard, the executive producer. It's called nepotism.
No, listen, it's absolutely fine. No one questions it if a butcher's son takes over being a butcher. No one goes, it's nepotism. So why the hell would it matter? All this nepotism stuff, it's like, well, of course, if you're into the same kind of stuff and you want to go into the same kind of industry, of course, take whatever help you can get. Everyone
Yeah.
is helped by someone along the way in their career. It's
Yeah.
it's never just it's never just their family. But if you have family involved, have at it. I'm not a judgmental guy, dude.
Yeah.
I think if you
Well,
get your
thank you.
career that you want, have the career you want. And I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard, man. I mean, Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team, Hulk, Charlie's Angels. I mean, Knight Rider. All those shows, which were shown in the UK. I mean, they were shown around the world, but they were shown in UK kind of as like Saturday evening kids viewing. They used to come on at
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 p.m. I know over here they were like weekday nights, but in the UK it was like I always remember it as Saturday viewing. And it was, I just feel like I grew up watching those stunts, like watching cars jump ravines. And I mean, the number of times they jumped the A-Team van, and you think, yeah, like that van could ever get any air on it. You know what I mean? It's a huge, great GMC thing, but still, all those kind of shows and Dukes of Hazzard, man, we used to watch that all the time. So
Yeah. I
that's
did that for 4 years. Jumped to General
fantastic.
Lee. That was my weekly job. And
Oh
yet you go
man.
on IMDb. I don't even think they mentioned I worked on the show.
I don't think so, no, because it didn't even come up. As I said, the first thing I could find that you and Russell had done together certainly in your feature film work was Pee-wee. That was the first one that I could
Yeah.
find that you guys had worked on. But oh man, to know that you were behind the wheel of some of those jumps on Dukes of Hazzard, that just, oh man, that takes me back. That warms my heart. That's fantastic. Yeah, talk about sort of the relationship with Russell and how, because he obviously directed your first two movies that you wrote, and was there thought at the time of sort of setting up a kind of production company as a side hustle just for you guys to kind of make movies you wanted to write while also working on stunts on bigger pictures or different pictures?
Yeah, it was. That was our game plan. And it was an education to us to find out that it took so long to get all of the monies back from when you would go and make the movie.
Right.
And it would start selling foreign sales. And then after that, all the domestic ancillary markets, from the cable and the pay-per-view and the syndicated television. And it was taking a couple of years just to get all the money to come back in. So in the interim, we went back to work directing television. I started directing various shows for Stu Siegel and for Columbia TriStar, shows like Sheena,
Yep.
VIP with Pam Anderson, and I did like 21 one-hour TV shows, and so we kind of were going where the money was, and we didn't have to work so hard to go and try to sell a film independently and wait 2 years for the monies to come in. So it kind of took us down a different path, doing
Yeah.
episodic television.
Understood. Well, Forced to Kill, as I said earlier, I really enjoyed it. It's a wonderful slice of, I think they call it like Hicksploitation, because it's sort of that thing where, a regular schmo gets embroiled in some kind of mad out in the countryside sort of fight ring, or,
Yeah.
they're obviously not good guys. They're killing people. They're attacking women and doing all sorts of stuff. So, but I love all that kind of stuff. What kind of inspired the story, and what sort of action beats and or genre kind of things did you want to make sure you got in the film?
We felt, Russell and I were talking about it before I even wrote the screenplay, and said, vehicular stunts were our strong point,
Yeah.
but we didn't want to be just another car chase in the city, and
Right.
that's why we wanted to make it more rural. You might get a kick out of this too. If you and I sat down and watched that movie together, I would point out 6 or 7 locations that were actually the Dukes of Hazzard set.
Yeah.
And I actually throw a 180 in the Cadillac before I blow up Michael Ironside, and it's
Yeah.
right in front of the boar's nest.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, which was kind of cool for us to have it, right there. But I
Definitely.
got into the film industry before the Dukes of Hazzard. I did a movie called The Sting 2, and
Yeah.
with Jackie Gleason, Carl Malden, Mac Davis. But I got hired on that because I used to be a boxer. I boxed as an amateur, and so we wanted to take advantage of the bare knuckle fighting and kicks, and I was just brought up on that. I fought in the Junior Olympics and Golden Gloves and the Diamond Belt, and had 47 amateur bouts. I used to spar with Frank Stallone. He was my sparring partner. But so we wanted to take advantage of our strong points, and that was that. I used to rodeo, riding bulls and bucking horses. So we thought, well, let's incorporate a horse chase.
Yeah.
Obviously, I could drive. I've been on the Dukes of Hazzard for 4 years, and let's get on some gravel roads and do some chases. And it kind of just molded into this pretty, not very original story, but but we establish who the protagonist is and the antagonist and who's our bad guy, who's our villain, and let's go after him and get revenge and have a happy ending. And it was a little cliche, I guess, but a lot of fun making it. And also, again, if you and I were sitting down and we're stopping it frame by frame, I would show you scenes where I'm actually chasing myself
Yeah.
in the Cadillac, chasing the
Right.
Bronco, but I'm driving the Bronco.
Yeah.
Movie
Oh, that's
magic.
funny. That's funny. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, in terms of like cliche and stuff, I always think if you're into genre film, if you're into horror, if you're into action, if you're into sci-fi, if you're into whatever, comedy even, there are always going to be certain beats that you hit. And if there aren't those story beats, when someone tries to stray too far from that stuff and tries to kind of become avant-garde with it or weird with it or whatever, it sometimes often doesn't work. Often those guide rails are there for a reason. You got to have your bad guy, you got to have your good guy, you got to have some peril, you've got to have some chases or stuff every few minutes. And I don't ever like when I sit down to watch an action movie, and obviously doing the PM Entertainment podcast, I do that all the time. I don't ever sit down and think to myself, oh well, here's another good guy going after a bad guy. I just want to see how they're going to do it this time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Every week on the Dukes of Hazzard or the A Team or Knight Rider, little Timmy gets his medicine right at the end of the show, whatever it is, or the cab rank has been saved, or the little cafe has been protected, or whatever it is. It's not about that. It's about like the characters. It's about how are they going to fix the problem. It's about the stunts. It's all that stuff. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't judge stuff based on its cliche. If anything, I like action movies to have that in it and then push it to the next level, which I think Force to Kill did in some respects.
You know what? I had I don't know if you recall in there. I had a gentleman, Rance Howard,
Rance Howard, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ron Howard's father,
yeah.
and Clint Howard, his brother.
Well,
I
we've interviewed Clint for this show because he's in Bigfoot. So yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I was asked as a favor from Ron Howard when I was doubling Tom Cruise on a movie called Far and Away, and
Yeah.
he knew I was making this movie, and he said, "Would you have a spot for my brother?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll put Clinton there somewhere." And then he goes, "Oh, and my dad. Could you put my dad in your movie too?" I'm like, "Sure, Ron." So when we were first screening it, before we even had the color correction, we're just doing a screening it and across the street from Imagine Entertainment.
Yeah.
And Ron came and watched it, and he said he really liked the character at the beginning when I was being all cocky, repoing the car, and didn't like how I transitioned into this tough guy.
Right.
And I went, "Oh." I said, "Well, I don't like your films either, Ron."
Right. I think it made sense. I don't think that there was a point where, I mean, you have your spirit broken a bit, obviously, by everything your character goes through. So he has to go from being a cocky fighter to being well, hell, I got to fight to stay alive kind of thing. But so you're not
Yeah,
quite as comedic at the end as you are at the beginning. But I think that makes sense with everything you go through. I mean, they chain you
yeah,
to stuff, they beat you, they electrocute you, so you're put through
yeah.
the ringer
How
in it.
about that? I'm going to give you Ron's number, and you should call him and tell him this stuff.
Please, happily, happily. I'll sit there and tell him everything that's wrong with Far and Away. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I thought actually, what I thought was great about it was that obviously the setup in Force to Kill, it could have almost become a tournament movie, like a blood sport or whatever, where it was more about the bouts than it was about kind of everything you'd gone through. And what I liked about Force to Kill, and I don't mind tournament movies. I watch tournament movies quite a bit, and I'm a martial arts fan and stuff. But in general, in terms of action films, they're not my favorite, right? They tend to just sort of go the sports movie route rather than the action film route. And I liked the way, that's why I said you sort of incorporated all these different parts of of sort of known action stuff into Force to Kill. So it's a little bit of everything. And actually it had a nice accumulative effect. There is the sort of bouts and the fights and stuff that you have in it, but that's not the entire, crux of the plot. And so I liked that I got kind of a mix of everything because that kept it engaging and interesting, I thought.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, and I got to be 100% honest and tell you that that was all accidental. Nothing was pre-thought out that that's what we're going to do. We were just kind
Yeah.
of winging it, and just putting
Yeah.
together action, action, action. But I'm glad it was entertaining and that you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I'll never forget making that movie. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the chase at the end with the helicopter over the speedboat, and you're firing out of the speedboat at the helicopter, and then obviously the car chase and the horse chase, all that stuff is fantastic. But I think that was the bang for your buck, was the helicopter and the speedboat. Anytime you can kind of get two vehicles working together like that and doing crazy stunts and throwing people off the helicopters and things, that's got to be that. When you watch that back, you've got to be like, yes, we got
Yeah.
it, kind of thing.
And,
Yeah.
and nobody knows that when I got onto the shore and I ran off, that the engine caught fire and it caught the whole hillside on fire.
Oh
And,
shoot! For
and then
real
all
or as part of the movie? Like
no, for real.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then other helicopters had to come in and dump water on it.
Oh
And we were photographing them and we were trying to think how we could work that into the story. Like we look at this
yeah.
production value. We have these huge helicopters scooping up water and dumping it out. How do we work that into the story? And I'm like, I don't think we can. So
No, you could have had it that he jumped off the speedboat and for no reason it exploded, I guess. But I mean,
yeah. Yeah. Why weren't
there's,
you there that day? So you should have been the producer on the set and you would have come up with that solution.
well, I always think there was a movie that PM made. They only made one with Cynthia Rothrock, Guardian Angel, it was called. And right at the end, there's a speedboat chase because I think one of the foreign investors had one of those large cigarette boats, and they were like, if you put this in the movie, we'll give you some more money. And I think right at the end of the thing, the speedboat's coming along. Cynthia's like grabs hold of the rope under a helicopter and is pulled out of the speedboat. It runs up the beach. It doesn't even really crash into anything. It just runs up the beach. But because it's out of the water, it explodes. Because of course it explodes, because that's what it has to do.
Yeah.
And so you could have, you could have added that in, I suppose, if you wanted to utilize the fire and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, apart from the boxing and the sparring and stuff that you've done, do you have any martial arts training as part of your stunt work? Do you do sort of martial arts or keep up with a regiment like that? Or
No, I used to. A guy named Brad Felger and Scott Shower, these guys who were martial artists. I had a gym at my house where I was growing up, and they used to come over and they would kick the bag and they would teach me some stuff. But I never got any training other than just on a set working with other guys who were phenomenal, martial artists, and they would show me stuff. Hey, Corey, you're doing that wrong. But no, the answer is no. I just boxed. That was my thing.
Cool. Well, you pulled it off great in the movie, man. So some of the cast of Forced to Kill you obviously worked with in Payback, and some would again appear in Bigfoot, The Unforgettable Encounter, your first movie as a director. What in particular was it? I know you spoke to a little bit about Rance and Clint, but like Michael Ironside, I actually, for my movie website, aftermoviediner.com, actually got to have a great conversation with Michael Ironside some years ago now, and he's one of my favorites. But what's it like working with these guys like Ironside, like Don Swayze, people like that, as a writer and an actor, as opposed to a stunt person kind of relationship and collaboration?
Interesting you bring up Michael Ironside because I love that man. He was phenomenal actor, and really, I write too much. And Rance Howard has been my writing partner before he passed away, and we wrote, like the Bigfoot movie we wrote together, and I would write too much dialogue and too much description. And so I was really proud of this one scene with Michael Ironside and I in the jail cell on I think it was on Payback. I don't think it was on Forced to Kill. I forget, it's like a 3-page scene of dialogue. And I thought it was really clever and sophisticated and impressive. I was going to impress somebody with my writing. And Michael came in and says, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Yeah. He pulls me aside. He goes, all of this stuff that you wrote and everything. He goes, I think I could sell it all with just a look.
Right. Yes.
I went, what? What do you mean? So he did it. He goes, let me just try it once, Corey. And I said everything I was supposed to say. And then he just gave me this look. And I went, he's right. Yeah. I didn't need all that dialogue, So
there are some people like him. His looks can just either chill the bone or excite or whatever. Yeah. He's got that look. Yeah.
Yeah. But working with Rance Howard when we were doing, if I could jump ahead to that Bigfoot movie for a second, I got to tell you something. When I was in with George Chamy at PM Entertainment, going over the foreign sales of Forced to Kill, and
Yeah.
George Schmidt, all action films, right? Explosions and but Free Willy had just come out.
Yeah.
And so George Schmidt says, "Oh, we need to do a movie about a small boy and a big animal." And I said, "Wow, you got to see if Bigfoot's available. I hear he's pretty popular. Hard to get a hold of though." And Cody, do you have a Bigfoot story you're working on? From that second, I was.
Yes. You're like, yes, of course I do. I
I
have
said,
three
yeah.
that I'm writing. Yeah.
I said, you know what? Coincidentally, I am working on a story. George goes, "Oh, fantastic." And he picks up his phone. "Joseph, Rick, come down to my office right away. Corey's going to tell us the Bigfoot movie we're going to start shooting in 7 weeks."
Yeah.
That's how that got pitched. So they come down into his office. I remember I'm all nervous now. Oh shit, I got to come up with a story. And Joseph Marhe sits down on the couch next to Rick Pepin and George Schmidt. And I remember they all sat down, crossed their legs, and put their hands over their knees. It was like identical, the three of them. "Cody, hold my calls, hold my calls." He goes, "Tell us the story about the Bigfoot movie."
Yeah.
And I pulled this story out of my ass
Yeah.
and left there with the budget, a start date, and it was 7 weeks. And the first person I called when I got in my car was Rance Howard. I said, "Rance, I got an emergency here. I got 7 weeks to write a screenplay." And I go, "Don't laugh at me. I was kidding around and I pitched a Bigfoot movie." And he goes, "Oh my gosh, Corey, Ron and Clint and I have been Bigfoot fans for 50 years. Come by the house."
Nice.
So I go by his house in Toluca Lake, and I go there, and he's got a stack of newspaper clippings on his coffee table of Bigfoot sighted in Sears parking lot, and Bigfoot marries alien women. All of these things that they've been following Bigfoot for years. So we dive into it and we start writing this Bigfoot script. Now,
Yep.
Ron Howard is in town doing the music score for a movie called The Paper.
Yep.
And we had the earthquake. And so he didn't want to stay in his apartment because it was 37 floors up. So he's staying there at his house where he grew up.
Yeah.
Every morning, his mom, Jean, would fix us breakfast. It was, what was it? It was cantaloupe and scrambled eggs, like every morning. And there's Rance and Ron and I sitting there, and we're developing this story. And I remember one time Rance and I changed like the subplot or something, and Ron looks up and he goes, "Dad, Corey, that's not the same story. You guys changed the story." I go, "Yeah, Ron, we did." He goes, "You could do that?" I go, "Well, yeah, we could do whatever we want, Ron. I don't know, what little spaceship movie you might be working on, but we can do whatever we want. This is a Bigfoot movie.
Right.
This is serious stuff."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was fun to get that reaction from Ron Howard because, doing it with through his company, you got to get all kinds of approval to change anything. And PM never even read my script. They never even read the whole thing, to be honest with you. But it was a good story. It was successful, and they came back to me and said, "We want you to do a sequel. They want you to do Little Bigfoot." And I said, "I don't want to be known as the Bigfoot guy. I had a lot of fun making the movie. It was great. Got a lot of great memories from it, but I want to move on and do something else." And so I did this other film for them with Joe Piscopo and called Two Bits and Pepper.
Yep. I watched that today as well.
Oh, did you really?
In fact, I have the DVD right here.
Oh my gosh, there it is. Yeah. I don't even have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So great. So it was Forced to Kill, talking to George. That's kind of what led to Bigfoot out of nowhere. Because I was wondering, obviously, as someone who's known in the stunt world doing these big action pieces and things like that, I wondered whether you went the family-friendly route more because maybe, I don't know, but I was like, maybe he just had a family. Maybe he wanted to write something for his kids or something. I had no idea why the two directorial features you had made were kind of more family-friendly. I mean, I love all movies, so it's all good to me, but I was just interested as how that came about. So it's funny that it was one where you were just like, sure, Bigfoot, and then
it was.
and then
yeah. I was just joking around and said, "Yeah, get Bigfoot. He's pretty popular from what I hear. If you can find him."
Yeah.
And he sparked up.
Yeah.
When he picked up that phone, though, he being George Schmidt, when George Schmidt picked up the phone and called Joseph Marhe and Rick Pepin, "Come on down," because their offices were upstairs.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh shit, I got to come up with a story here."
Yeah.
And I remember when I got through the story with them, and we ended up having, you saw David Rashi and stuff in there.
Oh,
and
yeah. A great
Rance Howard,
cast.
and Matt McCoy from The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and great cast. Had Bigfoot. Yeah, it was hard for me to remember when I got to Rance's house what story I pitched them
Right.
because it was not like engraved into my brain, but it was
Yeah.
like because I just kind of made it up. Real quick, I got to tell you a funny story real quick about that. The guy that we got to be in the Bigfoot suit,
Yeah.
Gary Melanson, I think his name was, tall, like 6'10", just huge man, black
Basketball
man,
player, right? Or
basketball player.
yeah.
Yes, sir. We spent $147,000 on the Bigfoot suit with all the robotics and
Yeah.
eyes and ears and stuff. When they made the head was over $40,000.
Wow.
And I get a phone call from the special effects man telling me, he says, we got a problem. I go, what's the matter? Your guy is claustrophobic. I'm like, oh, well, hey, we don't need to worry because we're going to be outside. We're going to be out in the forest and never going to be interior with him. He goes, no, that's not what I mean. He can't have a hood over his head. And I'm like, well, that's a problem.
Oh yeah.
He goes, so we're going to have to make another Bigfoot head for him to wear and get used to it during pre-production. And he's got to have a log, and he wore it for 20 minutes today and watched TV for 2 hours. So this went on for several weeks to go out into the woods. And now we're filming, and he's doing a great job. And Zachary Ty Bryan, the little kid from Home Improvements, he would check on him and make sure, are you okay? He's like, yeah. One day, the wires from the robotics, the battery packs were behind his shoulder blades, and the wires from all his sweat and the salt in your sweat corroded the wires, and they shorted out, and his head caught on fire. Smoke starts coming out of the top of his head, and Matt McCoy's like points at him and goes, "Your head's on fire." You don't say that to a guy who's claustrophobic wearing a Bigfoot head.
Right.
They freak out, and they're trying to yank it off his head, and all the grips are tackling him, trying to take the Velcro apart so we could unlace it, and it was horrific.
Was he okay after that? Was he singed at all, or was he okay?
He got a little singe right here on the side of his eye when we pulled the helmet off. It kind of brushed against his eye and
Yeah.
gave him a little brand, I guess you would call it, like a
Yeah.
little brand. Yeah.
Well, I mean, considering it was for Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter, it was worth the effort, I think.
The scar.
It was
Yeah.
worth the scar. Most definitely
Yeah.
worth the scar. Listen
had
again. I thought it
scar.
was a great romp. I think it's definitely benefits from performances like David Rash's performance, which is just, I mean, that scene where one of my favorite bits in the whole movie is he's at his desk talking to one of his lackeys or underlings or whatever, and he's like mapping out how he wants the Bigfoot and how he wants it in his museum and da 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 da. And some guy comes in and like questions him. Some other guy, some other co-worker of his comes in and questions him. And Rashi stops everything and walks over to the guy and like gives him all the spiel about how he's always loved Bigfoot and he always wanted Bigfoot and blah 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 blah. And then he goes, "Any more questions? Good." And then goes right back, like doesn't even like miss a beat and goes right back to talking to his colleague at the desk again. He like breaks the whole thing, and it was so natural, but at the same time so funny and over the top and perfect for the film that I was like, oh man, that scene just sold the whole thing to me. It was like David Rashi was great. I thought he was really great in the movie.
I have two things to tell you about that scene.
Please go ahead.
One is the gentleman that you're talking about that was in the room was Brian Avery.
Oh, okay. That's the guy who introduced you in the first place. Got it. Okay.
He introduced me to PM Entertainment. The other thing I have to tell you, in all honesty, is that scene, 99% of it was written by Rance Howard.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, just kind of following his lead on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud that I directed it, but he really, the whole concept and the whole feel and everything of that scene, yeah, that was written by Rance Howard.
Well, the Howards, I mean, look, I've spoken to Clint, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now for various different things. And he has like a great sense of humor and a weird kind of way to look at some things and things like that. And I assume his father did too, and Ron does too. They seem that their films have a lot of humor in them, even when they're dramas or big adventures or whatever. Is that what you think Rance brought to it? Do you share that sense of humor? Is that because I do feel like both Two Bits and Pepper and Bigfoot are united by their kind of quirky sense of humor in the best way.
No, I would say no
Oh, okay.
because yeah, no, Rance was not a funny guy.
Oh, okay.
No, he was not a funny guy. He didn't have that comedic instinct. He was very whatever had to be said in dialogue or anything had to propel the story forward.
Okay.
You know,
So he was
and
that guy. He was more the structure guy, maybe.
yes, sir, that's what his
Yeah.
yeah, and that was really what I was learning from him was the structure of, but yeah, like with Two Bits and Pepper, that was me just freestyling it and coming up with that whole story and knowing I'm going to work with Joe Piscopo. And there's a lot of stuff that Joe and I did. I said, hey, here's the objective of the scene. And if you want to, put it in your own words and whatnot. Uh, so there's a lot of things in there that Joe Piscopo came up with on the day.
Right.
Sometimes it was too much. It would go on when he got that when I took the leash off of him and he had that comedic, he would just go with it. And I'm like, it's only a 2 hour movie. We got to
Yeah.
tone it down a little bit.
Right.
So, but yeah, there's a lot of things that he would say that were hilarious. And again, I'm like, well, nobody knows that I didn't write that, but we agreed to do it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah, sure.
made the movie.
But the other thing I liked about Bigfoot and the fact that working with Rance Howard is that obviously he crops up in a lot of films. He's kind of a character actor who's been in more of later on in life. What I liked about it was that you gave him, or he gave himself a hero moment at the end of the movie, right? And so I did like that because it's always nice to see those character actors or those older actors that you've seen in tons of stuff like get their moment. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
always nice to see that. So I really appreciated that about the film as well.
that's awesome. That's
Um,
awesome. So those little details, and you shine the light on it, and it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
you
fantastic.
noticed that, huh? You
The
noticed that.
The other thing that I thought was a great bit of character business, I spoke to Clint at length about this, was the fact that not only is Clint Howard wearing an obviously bad wig, like it's meant to be he's meant to be one of those guys working for a big corporation who's like desperately trying to pretend he's not bald, but everyone knows he's wearing a wig, right?
Yeah.
But the fact, like normally in a movie, you would have just had the character wearing that wig the whole time. And maybe the audience would have been like, is that a wig? Is it not a wig? Is it meant to be bad? Is it not meant to be bad? The fact that you show him at the beginning picking up the phone in bed and he obviously doesn't have his wig on, but then later when he shows up, he's got this big, like insane wig on. I thought that alone was such a great observational bit of comedy that didn't need to be commented on. It just needed to be, and you either got it or you didn't. And I felt like once I saw that in the early part of the movie, I'm like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this. This is
Oh, that's
clearly
awesome.
coming from someone who understands little details.
That is awesome. Yeah, because a lot of that goes right over people's head. They don't even.
Right.
Well, he had a wig on. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You didn't notice the wig, and earlier he was bald. And
Right.
no. Huh.
Yeah.
So, as a writer and as a director, as a storyteller, and someone like you says that and go,
Yeah.
"Wow, you really do pick up on those little details." It makes you go, "Wow, I got to keep this knife sharp. I got to
Yeah.
keep those details going."
Oh
That's
yeah, the
awesome.
more little things you can put like that in a movie, especially a movie that's like a Bigfoot movie, it's made for families. It's going to be something again like Force to Kill we were talking about. Like it's got to hit certain genre beats, right? There's got to be certain things in it that people expect, right? The more you add those individual details and the stuff that feels like it's coming from a director or a writer that knows what they're doing or is thinking about each scene in a way that others wouldn't, that's what kind of adds that little spark to the.
When we were writing the script there in Rance Howard's kitchen and Ron was there.
Yeah.
Ron says to me in between bites of cantaloupe and scrambled eggs, he says, "Hey, Corey," because Ron and I worked on Far and Away together, doing all the
Yeah.
fights with Tom Cruise, and I was
Right.
helping Ron Howard on how to shoot that. He asked me, "Is this how you guys shoot the fights?" I go, Normally we're going handheld, Ron, just so you'll know, and not on a dolly tracking." But so he immediately went handheld with all the cameras for the fights. So, but then he asked me, how are you going to shoot the fight with the bear and when the boy steps in the bear trap
Oh
and
yeah, I was going to ask you about this. Yeah.
and he's fighting the bear and Bigfoot fights the bear. How do you know how you're going to shoot that? And I would have kind of a comedic relationship with Ron. So I'm like, well, we're probably going to shoot it with a camera, Ron. Use like a 35 millimeter. No, well, how are you going
Right.
to shoot? I go, I don't know. We're still trying to finish the script. I don't have a shot list. And he goes, may I give you a suggestion? And I'm like, Ron Howard wants to give me a suggestion. This is gold. I'm taking it. Yeah, Ron, what are you thinking? He goes, well, when the bear's fighting the Bigfoot, if you have a long lens and you're focused on the boy, on his expression, and in the foreground, the bear and the Bigfoot are going back and forth, kind of out of focus because you're focused on the boy who's upstage. His facial expressions are going to tell the audience how gruesome or how violent and it's like reading a book. It leaves it open to your imagination for the viewing audience to determine in their own mind how gruesome or gross or violent the fight is by the boy's face. I never, ever, ever would have thought of that, right?
Right.
I'm like, wow, Ron, are you done? Is that your idea? So, so I took it, right? I'm going to take that
Yeah.
idea. So on the day, now we're months later. I mean, not even months, excuse me, weeks later. We're up in Shaver Lake and we're filming it. Comes the day to do the fight with the bear, and they bring the bear out, and the bear smells something, stands up on his hind legs, and takes off. Gone for 4 hours, run off into the woods before we could find him and bring him back. Had to make up stuff that I could shoot, trying to shoot inserts or whatever I could, because that was our, half of our day was shooting the bear fight. Finally, we get the bear to come back, and we're going to lose the light behind the big mountain. Handheld, go, go, go. And my instincts clicked in like we would do a fight on any other movie. Totally forgot all about the long lens with the boy, on his face and the bear in the foreground. And so now we fast forward and we're going to go watch the screening of the film, just like Ron came and watched my Forced to Kill movie. Now we're going to watch the Bigfoot movie. And he sits right behind me. And as the movie gets started, he taps me on the shoulder. Hey, Corey, did you get a chance to use my idea about the long lens? I go, Ron, the bear ran off, okay? The bear ran off into the woods for 4 hours. I couldn't use your long lens idea. Just watch the movie. I was so frustrated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, considering it's a guy in a Bigfoot suit and a bear, and I can't even imagine like the logistics of even figuring that out. Even if it's a tame bear, like I can't even imagine the logistics of anyone who would want to do that, and B, how you would film it. I think you actually like got quite a lot of footage that's sort of very usable and enjoyable in the film. But it is funny that like you were talking with the Howards about it, because of course one of Clint's first biggest roles was that I knew him from was like Gentle
Yeah,
Ben,
man.
which used to get rerun on British TV all the time. Gentle Ben, Lassie, The Littlest Hobo, all these kind of kid and animal shows, right, were all redone when I was a kid. And so yeah, I wondered if Clint wasn't like, well, if you're filming with a bear, here are my suggestions. I thought Clint maybe had some suggestions or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, that's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, yeah. No, that must have been an absolute pain, like working with real animal, a guy in a suit who was claustrophobic, halfway up a
Kids.
mountain, and then
Yeah,
kids. Yeah, you're working with all the things they say don't work with, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, good for you. You pulled it off, man. You pulled it off. So, so this time around, you were working with kind of more of the standard, like PM Entertainment crew, especially like Ken Blakey as the cinematographer. You had Louis Fabre as a composer who had done a ton of stuff for them, and of course Joe and Rick and George tangentially. Was there a big difference there? How was that for you? How did that change from sort of having worked closely with Russell on the
You
first
know
two?
what? I was surprised that the productivity, the pace was very like episodic television. It was fast, which was good
Yeah,
because the thing when I was directing TV for Stu Siegel, it wasn't, hey, I got this great complicated camera shot. Stu was like, I want it to be in focus. I want it to be good for sound, and let's move on. And
right.
that's how was the mentality with the PM Entertainment crew. Maurice McGuire was one of the operators that he and I have gone on to work on many, many films, Starsky and Hutch and all, what was the other movie I did with Stallone? Get Carter and all these films we worked on together. But Alex Gaynor, who was a first assistant director, we worked on Fast Five together with Spiro. But yeah,
Yeah,
how quick they were.
yeah,
It was a good fit. It wasn't like some shows you get on and they're just dragging. It's like, really, you guys, it's not that complicated. Let's
Yeah.
find some camera marks, let's set a light, put a lens on, let's go. And that was the PM mentality. PM Entertainment was let's shoot, and so it was a good fit for me working with them.
Yeah. And having learned more about them doing the show and interviewing, I've interviewed Ken. I managed, thankfully, to interview Rick before he passed earlier this year. I don't know if you know, but Rick had passed earlier this year, which was very sad. Learning how they worked, how quickly they worked, how run and gun they worked, the the fact that they achieved what they achieved throughout their like 110 movies or whatever it is they did was it's made even more incredible by the fact that they worked so quickly, especially Ken Blakey's cinematography, Rick's cinematography, and things like that. It was kind of crazy. And obviously, coming from a world of stunts and working with a production company that was sort of beginning to make their name in kind of big stunt set pieces and things like that, was there sort of more pressure about putting more action in Bigfoot, or actually because it was a family film, dialing back the action, or like how did you approach that? Because obviously Bigfoot has some action, it has the fight with the bear, it has the car chase at the end, it has a little bit here and there, but in general it's more of a the pace is very quick and so on, but it's more sort of a character piece and sort of more of a kind of comedy family drama than it is an out and out action film. Was there, did Joe, Rick, or George, or anyone be like, hey, can we beef this up? Can we beef that up? Or were you chomping at the bit as a stunt guy to be like, let's put more stuff in?
No, it was actually advised to me by George Shami, don't make this an action movie.
Okay.
Don't make this an action film. Make it a family film. And
Right.
I think I had to kind of try to sneak some of that action in there, to tell you the truth,
Okay.
with the car chases and stuff and whatnot. And yeah, he kept saying, look at Free Willy, Corey,
Right.
look at Free Willy. And what was the other movie that came out?
Uh,
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was what that they wanted to go into that genre, and
Genre.
not copycat the action film. That was a whole different thing. So
Yeah. 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 Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I was just interested. Did you find that once you had done Bigfoot, PM kind of came to you and went, what other family things do you have? Or did you like that genre and want to kind of work more in it? But how did that second film come about?
they were excited about the Bigfoot movie and already had pre-sales or pre-buy to do the sequel. And I remember Joseph Marr, he actually got upset with me when I said, no, I don't want to be known as the Bigfoot guy.
Right.
Because he was saying it's called Little Bigfoot. This is what the story is about. I'm like, you're taking all the fun out of it for me. I want to be able to be the creator of, let my imagination come up with a story. And that's the part that I really, really like in the writing and development of it is the story. So I said, no, I said, Joseph, I don't want to do that. And he was very upset with me.
What about directing the children in both movies? And any challenges there, or were these like seasoned professionals at this point?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. If we could jump back to the Bigfoot movie for a sec.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a scene where I had to have Zachary Ty Bryan cry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh boy, how am I going to go about this? And sometimes with actors and actresses I've worked with before, they have a I think it's a menthol, and there's makeup artists will come in and blow it into their eyes. So you start to, oh my gosh, you just start tearing up. So, but this Zachary Ty Bryan was supposed to be looking at Bigfoot, and he's captured, and he's getting emotional, and he's going to cry. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And it was one of those days that things weren't going good. And I remember looking over to his mom and dad, and I go, hey, can I ask you guys something? And they go, yeah. I go, I don't know how I'm going to make him start to get emotional. Do you have any leads or anything you could tell me that maybe in his personal life? And he goes, his dog just died. I'm like, oh gosh, really? Do I go there? I said, is that okay to bring? He goes, oh, absolutely, bring it up. So I was up on a ladder. I had told Alex Gaynor, the first AD, I said, we're going to roll camera without him knowing. I'm just going to get in conversation. So I would look back and I'd do this, roll camera, and the sound guy knew it. We're going to do a tail slate. We're not going to slate at the head of the scene. I didn't want him to know we were rolling cameras. He thought we were still just setting lights. And I said, hey, Zach, so what's going on, man? You've been having fun on the show? Yeah. Good. all these animals and stuff we've had on set. Yeah, because we had a bunch of dogs. And so I go, you got any dogs? And man, when I said that, he just looked at me and I said, do you have any dogs? And he started to cry. And I just lost my, and he's just, and we're rolling, and I got him crying. And I'm like, okay, that's cut. I felt like an asshole. I'm like, for even doing it, but I had his mom and dad's blessing,
Yeah.
to do that. But then afterwards, I jumped down off the ladder, went over, then I gave him a big hug, and I'm like, cut the cameras, guys, we got it, And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. It was your mom and dad's fault. They told me. They told me.
Immediately you throw them under the bus. Immediately. It's like,
Sure,
they told
yeah.
me to do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, once we had it on film, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, of course. Oh no, I mean, I don't know. Plenty of actors will say that they, reach back and find a memory like that or find something that. But yeah, obviously hard to do it when kids are involved. And obviously he was on a TV show at the time and was obviously sort of more used to the role. So just lastly, then, is there anything that you miss about the 80s and 90s stunt work, action scenes, getting to make movies like that, etc.? Or do you feel that like stunts in films like Fast and Furious and things like that that are so obviously not only utilizing those stunt people from the 80s and 90s, but also homaging them to some extent? Do you feel like it's just an accumulation of a career over time and all new stunts or all new challenges or all new experiences? Or was there something about that, what we think of as sort of a golden age of action, that you miss now, or that you stunt guys sit around and talk about?
You know what? First of all, let me just say that it'll never be the way it was. It was all organic. It was all real. There was no CGI. There was no AI. It was all the real thing. And a lot of it, I'm going back to the Dukes of Hazzard, the
Hmm.
4 years I was on that show. And a lot of it, we were experimenting. We were breaking guys' backs. We had a fatality on the Dukes of Hazzard TV show. There were things that were going on that we were just like, we didn't understand physics. We were learning from the mistakes that we were making,
Yeah.
and then carrying all that knowledge on to other projects. But now I've done 3 of the Fast and Furious movies. I'm very proud of Fast Five. I did with Spiro Rosados. I cannon rolled that 42,000-pound prison bus and
Yeah.
won my third Taurus World Stunt Award performing that stunt. And the only reason I got to do that was Justin Lin needed more time to do if they were going to make it out of a CGI, because Mike Wassel, who was head of visual effects for Universal at the time, said it was going to take him like 10 or 15 weeks to do a CGI version of the bus. And they wanted to put that in the movie to blend the two together. What was it? 4 into 5. They wanted to start 5 with that bus, and
Yeah.
they needed to shoot it in 7 weeks. And then Matt Sweeney, the effects man, says, we'll make a real bus and we'll do it. We'll get Corey Eubanks to do it. And it was the fun of trying to figure it out, how we're going to do it, that I miss. And now for them to say, oh, we'll just do all that in post. I'm like, really? Those days are gone.
Right.
And there's so seldom that we do huge vehicular stunts now for real, and they're stitching it together with CGI stuff. I say that, although I just did a cannon roll a couple of weeks ago on a Landman episode for Taylor Sheridan. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of the directors, the Michael Bays of the world, like I've drove Bumblebee in every single Transformers movie, and
Yeah.
thank God for the Michael Bays of the world. And I don't know if there's many that want to use real cars.
Right.
They love being on the set where there's real action and real jeopardy, and it's not all it's so composed and put together perfectly in a previs that's exactly going, well, that's what it's going to look like in the movie.
Yeah.
Half the beauty of it is what's going to happen and unfold right there in front of you for real,
Yeah.
and that was the exciting stuff. And I remember designing a pipe ramp that was like this huge angle and had a kicker, and all the other stunt guys would tell me, "Oh, you're out of control now, Corey. That's going to be too dangerous." And we cracked that sucker out on the Fall Guy TV show, and
Yeah.
we're now getting 2, 3 rotations in the. Next thing I know, everybody's building pipe ramps just like the one that I had built,
Yeah.
and taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
But it's kind of sad to me that a lot of that is starting to fade away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's still, I think, I think Christopher Nolan, all the stunts on all the Batman films, I think, were done more or less for real. I mean, yes, there's obviously CGI to remove wires and things like that, but I think obviously Quentin Tarantino, I think all his car chases and things in Death Proof and some of the others were for real. Edgar Wright with Baby Driver, I think all of that stuff was more or less done for real, but it's rare. It's definitely rarer and rarer and rarer.
Yeah. The other thing you mentioned about the Baby Driver, there are some films that they do this and it's kind of cheating and the audience doesn't know.
Well, this
It's
is what
like,
he says. I mean, I don't know that it was all
yeah,
done for real. That's what they say in the marketing of the movie. I'm just, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it is and it isn't. There are some scenes where you'll drive a vehicle down and pitch it and make a maneuver and down the street and hit the brakes and make a right-hand turn, and you're solo. There's nobody in your on that street.
Right.
And then in post, they're going to put a car that you missed and a truck and you missed it, and they go,
Got
"Wow,
it. Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
you're really good, man. You're accurate." No, those cars weren't there.
Weren't there in the
Same
shot.
thing
Yeah.
happened to me when I worked for Michael Bay on the show on the feature film The Island. I did some great driving on that. No, I didn't. I did some stuff and then they CGI'd some cars around me. You
Right,
know.
right, 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 right. And is that so? Only because you mentioned it, because I'm a huge Fast and Furious fan, as you can imagine, and sort of having talked to Spiro was kind of a moment where I was just like, oh my God, because those movies are so known. Are the majority of the stuff, obviously the really daft stuff where people are flying miles and landing into windscreens and stuff. Obviously, that's all CG, but and driving along a nuclear submarine as it crashes up through the ice. But
That could happen. That could happen.
sure, sure, that could happen. Tyrese
Sure, that's
Gibson could drive a sports
are you
car with no snow tires on an ice
yeah.
floe. Sure. But no, I mean, are they still the films, I guess, with people like yourself, with masters like Spiro and so on? Are they the films where there's at least some of it's for real, or is it still is it more what you're talking about, that they'll film a car driving through a road in Italy and then CGI everything else?
Unfortunately, it's going that way.
It's mostly that way. Okay, yeah, yeah,
Not, I wouldn't say mostly, but it's going that way.
yeah.
It is going that way. There's so many things and sometimes we're on a set and then one of the visual effects guys will be there and I'm like, you just want to strangle them. Like you're just taking away my occupation,
Yeah.
what I grew up as a kid wanting to do, and you're going to do it all on a computer. And I think what might happen eventually is that a marketing tool might be, hey, this film was made with all real people,
Right.
and promote it that way so you get true emotions and everything. The Jeopardy was really there.
Like the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible thing, where it's like the one stunt in every movie that he does for real or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, he's something else, isn't he?
I mean, just the fact that he strapped himself to the side of a plane and that plane took off, I think it was 8 or 10 times with him strapped to the side of a plane. And I'm just like, sure, Tom, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I have to ask then, because they've just announced there's finally going to be a stunt Oscar. Is that way too little too late as far as you're concerned? Or do you hope that by initiating a stunt Oscar, people like yourself, people like Spiro, people like Cole, other people like that who have been in the business a long time might finally get recognized?
Well, I was brought up that you give credit where credit is due.
Right.
And I think it's actually kind of silly in our occupation that we have to vote on something by a committee to see who's going to be the best actor or the best movie.
Right.
I think if the film made the most money that year, it was the best movie. That's
Right.
my opinion.
Right.
But going to the stunts, our union, the Screen Actors Guild,
Yeah.
doesn't have a capacity. There's no capacity that's recognized that's called action designer. There's a stunt coordinator, there's a stunt performer.
Right.
It could be a male or a female. So to have that action designer is going to cause, I think, confusion and problems
Oh,
because
is that what they're calling it? I hadn't read that. That's what they're calling the official Oscar then?
action designer. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I was
What
told.
does that mean? I mean, second unit
Yeah,
director maybe, but I mean, I don't like that. Yeah, that's
because
weird.
if you're going to say the action designer, well, then maybe we should give credit to the writer who wrote it.
Right.
And maybe we should give some credit to the director who said, hey, maybe let's do this. Well, that's designing. Well, the stunt coordinator stepped in and said, hey, we could do that. So now you got a collaboration of 4 or 5 guys, and even the
Right.
stuntman and the stunt woman interjected some ideas,
Right.
and that got inserted into the design. Who's walking away with the Oscar because 9 people were involved in
Oh, I
the
didn't know that
design?
they'd done that.
Yeah.
That's a stupid move.
If they asked me and say, hey, Corey, you know what? We can't figure out, what do you think we should do? I'd say, hey, let's have best stunt coordinator, man or woman, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Have best stunt man and best stunt woman.
Yeah.
That's what,
Yeah.
but
At least that. Yeah,
I mean,
definitely. That's
hey,
yeah, okay. I didn't realize that they tried to do some weird amalgam award. I mean, they can't these people can't seem to win for losing, I suppose. It's just that they're just
yeah,
they and they clearly don't know anything about movies because the real fans of movies, especially people I think of my generation, but hopefully people younger as well, we really, really, truly love and appreciate what you guys do. I love and appreciate when I see a masterfully put together sequence. And I know just because of the little bits that I know about movie making, not only all the people that went involved, but the danger they put themselves in to pull that off for me. And especially on these, as again, one of the reasons I picked PM Entertainment on these lower budget movies, the fact that Spiro and Cole and others in your industry were able to pull off, like you say, pipe ramps and rolls and explosions and things. It should have been heralded and applauded decades ago, And so
yes.
we fans do, and we fans feel that way. So Corey, thank you so much for your time today. This has been an absolute pleasure, and I can't thank you
Oh,
enough.
you know what? Thank you for inviting me. I had a blast as well.
Good. And I know you have a YouTube channel and a podcast, Stunt Stories. If you just want to let people know where they can find it, if people don't know about it, if they like this podcast, they should definitely be watching it
Yeah,
and
that's
listening to it.
awesome. Go, yeah, check out Stunt Stories on YouTube, and also I just want to let you know that I'm going to be putting on my 12th car crashing clinic.
I saw that on your social. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's been a real joy. I've had students from all over the world, from Australia, from Indonesia, from Germany,
Yeah.
Switzerland, Canada, and I'm been having a blast, so it's been a lot of fun to pass on 44 years of knowledge of crashing cars to some of these younger stuntmen and stuntwomen, and hopefully keep them safe and keep it going, keep
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. Keep it going. Definitely keep it going.
yeah.
And the more hopefully new filmmakers emerge who want to use the tricks of the past and the techniques of the past, as long as Hollywood gets out of their way and lets them do it, then we might
Yeah.
see more of it in the future, I hope.
But if you don't mind me just plugging carcrashingclinic.com if they want to
Great.
go check it out. Well, thank you for restoring some of my memories from those movies. That was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for sharing them, Corey, and all the best to you, man. Take care. All right. Wasn't that fantastic? A great interview with Corey there. And now, the man, the legend, the one and only. It's Mr. Clint Howard. Well, Clint, it's an absolute honor to talk to you again, sir. It's a pleasure to have you on the PM Entertainment podcast today. How have you been doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, John. Thank you very much.
You did a few films with Corey Michael Eubanks, the stunt person and writer-director of Bigfoot, The Unforgettable Encounter, the movie we're kind of chatting about today. Is that how you got involved with the movie because you kind of knew Corey, or was that just a coincidence?
Well, I don't think it was a complete coincidence. First of all, I believe Corey worked as a young stuntman on Far and Away.
He did, yes.
So he knew the Howard family. He knew my dad, Rance,
Yeah,
and in fact, Dad helped Corey creatively with some of the writing of Bigfoot. And my dad was in the movie, as was
yeah,
I. And it was a wonderful experience. I appreciated, I like Corey as a person. It's been a while since I've talked to him, but I think he's a good dude. And here he was taking his shot as a filmmaker to make this Bigfoot, unforgettable adventure. I thought it played really well. David Rasche was a good villain,
yeah. David's great in the movie.
and the kids. The movie had a really wonderful spirit, and it was fun.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And had you heard of the production company PM Entertainment at that time. They'd been going a few years and putting out mainly action movies at that point, but they were doing some new family films.
Yeah, no, I was. You know, as I remember, the best way I can describe it is those two guys were sort of trying to follow the Roger Corman sort of model of making budgeted movies. You know, they, of course, they didn't overspend.
Right.
Uh, they knew they had a market. Action, they were pretty good at action. They found people like Corey that could deliver good stunts, and you know, Corey had a wonderful Rolodex of his colleagues that could do good stunts, and the two producers certainly understood that they could get a lot of bang for their buck if they let Corey make make movies. There were two that I worked on. I believe I worked on one which was called Forced to Kill,
Yes.
and that was Michael Ironside was in that,
Yeah.
and I think Corey was in it, and that was a classic kind of gritty action movie uh, about people getting kidnapped and forced to fight to the death. So
Yeah.
classic B, kind of a B action movie. And then
Yeah.
and then Bigfoot. I remember my dad was a real dreamer and a believer, and things like Bigfoot and things like the chupacabra are always things that really intrigued Dad. And
Yeah.
him getting to work with Corey on formulating the ideas and kind of, I guess, for lack of a better expression, I think Dad was kind of a mentor to
Yeah.
Corey, at least on this picture.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Because of course it was wonderful at the end of the movie. Rance gets his heroic moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I think first of all, everybody loved Dad.
Yeah.
Dad, hardworking guy. He really appreciated the idea of everybody gathering together to make entertainment collectively to then entertain people. It was my dad's life's passion was to be in the entertainment business and not just a taker. And he didn't believe, my dad personally didn't believe in celebrity at all. What he believed in, this wonderful opportunity to tell stories
Yeah.
and entertain people. Hey, John, let me ask you a question here.
Yeah, Clint.
You're on this PM kick. You're,
Yes.
they were, if I remember, they were very specifically kind of, an action.
Yeah.
They would invent these movies. They didn't. I don't think they did a lot of science fiction, did they? They
They
were-
did a few. So when you look at all the PM films, the few science fiction films they did do, Dark Breed, The Sender, Hologram Man, a few of those, they were all directed by Rick because of the two producers. Rick was the one with the big science fiction love. So we've been getting in the weeds with it, man. We've been talking to the writers and the cinematographers and the editors and everyone behind the scenes at PM. Initially when I started down this kick, it was about, I'd been watching some of these documentaries that they'd made on Roger Corman, on Canon Films, and on some of those different companies. And I was like, well, when's PM going to get their time? They really, they gave Spiro Rosados a chance to do some incredible stunts. They gave Corey, obviously, a chance to direct. Cole S. McKay. Lots of people who worked for PM went on to, huge franchises and big Hollywood success. So we kind of want to tell that story as well.
That is one wonderful thing about the business and about people like the PM, the two producers. They gave a lot of people wonderful opportunities, and I don't believe they, it was not driven by agents or it wasn't driven by managers. It was really driven by these two guys wanted to make entertainment, and
Yep.
they hooked up with people. Like you just mentioned a name. I mean, God, I've been in this business a long time. Cole McKay,
Yeah, Cole S. McKay, man.
and he was a stuntman, right?
Yeah. Stuntman and second unit director. Yeah.
I believe Cole. I don't want to take time away from the interview, but I believe if I did my internet research, which is a wonderful thing about the internet, you can
Right.
take these deep dives
Yeah.
on places like the Internet Movie Database or even Wikipedia now, and find out about people and find out what the connections are. And Cole McKay was sort of the stunt coordinator on Ice Cream Man, which was a horror movie that I did in I think we shot it in 1994
Oh yeah, I love it.
And Cole was there, and I remember he's a really nice guy. I remember working with him, so anyway, that's And by the way, as a side note, we are making another Ice Cream Man.
Oh, fantastic. That's
Yeah,
great, man. That's great.
yeah, that's what it's called, another Ice Cream Man. It is not a sequel. It's not a second Ice Cream Man.
Yeah,
It's a movie. It's a movie story about a guy who's a beaten down old ice cream truck driver and his adventures. It's a horror movie, and it's going to have some of the ornaments. It's going to have some Easter eggs that were part of the original, the Ice Cream Man, where I just was an actor. I'm gonna be one of the producers. Going to be a co-director, and I'm going to make this movie. And the original director Norman Apstein, myself, and my wife Kat Howard, we're going to
yeah,
be producing this movie. So anyway, when you mentioned Cole, it which is the great thing about the internet, it made me dive in my mind down this hole that, God, Cole McKay. Yeah, that's right. Corey Eubanks. You know,
yeah.
when
And
I
Cole worked on Far and Away as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, according to IMDb, he worked on Far and Away as well. I'm just trying to, I'm just going through it, trying to have a
Well, I'll
look.
tell you, John, I'll tell you, that's, a movie like Far and Away literally probably had, over 100 stuntmen
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
with the land race and then the fist fighting,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, not to digress and get off topic of PM movies and
Right.
Bigfoot in particular, but, you know, Far and Away was a really full flavored breath of fresh air. That
Yeah.
is,
Well, it was such an epic. It was back when they were kind of making those, you know, David Lean-esque epics still. You had Braveheart, Far and Away, these kind of what I would call true widescreen movies. They really have those vistas. Clint Eastwood was making, Unforgiven and things like that. They were still making these old style Hollywood epics, which of
and the
course your
beau-
brother Ron made quite a few of those kind of films.
yeah, and the beautiful thing about Far and Away is there was a lot of humor in the movie.
Yeah,
There was a lot of wistfulness. There was humor. Of course, there was beauty because of all the various places where they shot. I mean,
right.
you go back and look at that movie, and they've got all the the sea coast of Ireland and all those beautiful shots. And then when they filmed up in Montana to capture, the land races and all that stuff. But the humor that Ron brought to the table on that, but everything. But let's get back to Unforgettable Adventure, Bigfoot.
Well, no, what's interesting is as you started talking about locations, my next question was about filming up at Shaver Lake in California. So actually, circuitously, we've come back to link up with what I wanted to talk about again, which was the location shooting. Obviously, it adds a bang for your buck being able to film outside like that and get a lot of the mountains and the forests and all that kind of stuff. What do you remember about being up there, and how long were you up there for? Were you on set for maybe 3-4 days? How long were you working on the film?
Well, I think I may have been there a little longer than a few days. I think it may have been a week or so. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, good. Yeah, I know they only ever used to take about 16 days to shoot their whole thing, but
yeah. Hopefully, if I remember correctly, it was already 3 weeks, which is
yeah,
they used to make TV movies in 3 weeks.
right.
It's possible if you're well organized to shoot, you know, an hour of film in in about a week or a little more. So it's possible. It's certainly now, it's working really fast in the world of low budget, moderately budgeted movies.
Yeah,
That's what you got to do. You got to shoot fast. But first of all, they found great locations. Shaver Lake was beautiful. It was rugged and it wasn't real hoity-toity. I remember that the accommodations were clean and decent, but it was nothing high end. And it was really easy to point the camera and get really beautiful shots.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And to send that Bigfoot, the fellow that played the Bigfoot, to send him up a ledge, up a ravine, in and around, and Matt McCoy, and it was great memories. And I'll tell you, it was, you know, I started needing a toupee when I was 21 years old, and by the time by the time we did Bigfoot, I needed a wig to play that character. And it was, listen, the advantage knowing the director and knowing Dad, who was kind of the director's mentor, uh, they asked me, well, what would you like to do? And I said, well, this, David Rashi's partner, kind of the PR guy who's up there running interference. It would be fun if he was this kind of a guy. And how about if I play it with this kind of bad wig?
Yes.
And it was, everybody thought that was kind of fun, and it was a good opportunity for me as an actor to create an interesting character. And if I remember correctly, that particular role, I threw on kind of an accent, which was the voice that I ended up, the inflection that I ended up landing on was kind of a tribute to my Aunt Glee.
Okay.
Aunt Glee had an interesting way of talking. She spoke like that. She was Dad's sister. And we always liked to do imitations of Aunt Glee because what happened when she was young, she had a speech impediment. So she went to speech therapy. So between being born in Kansas and having that sort of twang that you throw on top of that she learned to enunciate things correctly.
Yeah.
It was a fun character to do, and there was been a couple of times in my career I've channeled Aunt Glee in preparing and executing a role.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the wig because there's a very early scene. You're called on the phone in the middle of the night by David Rashi. He wakes you up, and of course you're without the wig. You don't have the wig. And then later on, we see you on, as you say, running interference and doing a press conference with the wig on. It's never commented. It's never mentioned. Rashi doesn't say anything about it. It's a very obvious wig in a great kind of inside joke sort of way. And it's a wonderful little bit of character business that would normally not necessarily be in sort of a, low budget Bigfoot movie. But the fact that it's there and it's throughout the film is a joy. It's a wonderful observation on these sort of vain men who run these businesses. You know what I mean? And I thought it was a wonderful bit of character business. So I was going to ask you about that. So I'm glad that was something. Was that something that Corey came to you with, or was that something you came to him with, or was that kind of a mutual collaboration?
I think it was kind of a mutual collaboration. Listen, I've watched people wear wigs all of my life. I mean, a lot of television programs that I worked on. I saw the actors, show up bald and then get out of the makeup room with their hair on, which is fine. I mean, listen, it's all entertainment. And even in life, I mean, it's somebody's choice. If they want to wear something, if they want to wear a hat made of hair, it's fine by me. I mean, at one point in our society, people wore powdered wigs.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
of course.
so listen, it's no skin off my nose, although it is in my mind kind of funny. My hair started falling out in my life, so early that there was no way I was going to try to chase there was no way I was going to try to hide the fact that I looked an awful lot like my grandfather on my mom's side of the family. So there it is.
Right. Yeah, it was more just an observation because it's in the Bigfoot movie, it's a bad wig, almost a purposely bad wig. It is a commentary on those kind of, not so much the entertainment business, but on those dudes in suits who have a lot of self-importance. That's more what I meant. Yeah.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
I listen. And David Rashi, I had a wonderful time.
Oh, he's great. He's so fantastically watchable. And yeah.
And listen, there's a guy who likes to act, and
Yeah.
he had done a lot of interesting things in his career, and of course, he was in that TV series that was relatively short-lived,
Sledgehammer. Yeah.
And I actually did an episode of Sledgehammer,
Yeah.
and he was a nice guy. He was a nice guy there, and then getting to spend about a week with him, in and around the set.
Yeah.
Like it was a good casting. I thought he was really
It was
good in
great.
that role.
Such a lovely eclectic cast with him, with Matt McCoy, who we've mentioned, Riff Hutton, Crystal Chappelle, of course, who and I was going to say, you just did a run on a soap opera, The Bold and Beautiful. Well, if you look up Crystal, she's done, I don't know, something like 800 episodes of soap, 3 or 4 different soap operas. She did 440 episodes of one and 300 episodes of another one. She was a soap queen, as they say.
Yeah, and this is something. Well, thank you for mentioning my run on Bold and the Beautiful. I was nominated for an Emmy,
Yes,
and
congratulations on that, sir.
thank you. And it was an honor to be nominated. I didn't win, but that's really besides the point. My work was there and appreciated, and it was wonderful. And I have a profound respect for
Yeah,
people that do soap operas. And I can honest to God say that I didn't have that kind of respect prior to actually working on it.
yeah,
So listen, there's actors come in all shapes and all sizes and all kinds of skill levels. Um, Not everybody's a matinee idol. Not everybody's a funny character actor. Not everybody gets to be in films. Some people just do commercials. You
right,
know,
right.
um,
In
that
fact, there's a whole group right now. I forget, they were all being interviewed for something. I forget what it was, but there's a whole group right now that are known, and they're all, funny enough, they're all like improv comedians and people who came out of Chicago and stuff like that. But Flo, the progressive insurance lady, and the guy who does the Mayhem guy, I can't think of his name right now, Clint. I
the
feel bad,
Allstate
but
guy, the
yeah,
Allstate, yeah.
All-State guy. He was on 30 Rock and some other shows, but everyone knows him as the Mayhem guy. And so, I
Wait,
mean,
here's hold on, John. There's another great. You bring up a great point here about like,
yeah,
the lady that plays Flo.
yeah,
She's first of all, yeah, she was probably a 1 and 2 line actress known for comedy.
yeah,
She ended up hooking that Flo, and it's probably been 25 years that she's been Flo now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, another guy that comes to mind, and I've known over the years. I haven't seen him in several years, but he's a really wonderful dude. Is David Leisure, who was Joe Azuzu,
Okay.
and he had this great campaign where he was this slick talking guy.
Yeah,
You knew that. It was funny. He was funny, but you nailed it. They're comedians that end up getting a job, and
yeah,
their job is not doing stand up in front of thousands and thousands of people. It's doing commercials and selling products, representing companies really well. And Flo is a classic example of that. You
yeah.
know? And so
And good for them. And sort of one of the reasons why we celebrate PM and why on my website, aftermoviediner.com, we're more often than not going to be looking at what other people would refer to as, B movies or straight to video movies or whatever, is because actually that's where a lot of the where a lot of the stuff is worked out. It's where a lot of people get their start. It's often a lot of places where people can really shine. It's often done by these production companies like PM, where they're scrappy and small, but they're a family and they stay together and they use the same people over and over again. And, there's a company in Switzerland at the moment who are the first company to be putting out some of the PM Entertainment movies on Blu-ray, because they've only really kind of languished on VHS and DVD a little bit and not in great quality. And when you see these movies now in high def on a big TV, the cinematography is great. The direction is great. The editing is interesting. The acting is like to so many of these movies were dismissed because people would watch them drunk on a Friday night with a big bucket of popcorn, have a laugh, and then move on to the next thing, which is totally great as well. And I mean, that's awesome as well. But like when you're able to see not only the cinematographers, the editors, the stunt people, the actors, things like this going on to bigger and better things, but also when you get to look at these movies now with this new technology, being able to blow them up to either, Blu-ray or 4K, you get to finally see the skill and the creativity and the collaboration that's on the screen. And some of these movies, I mean, Ken Blakey, considering how quick they shot these movies, some of his cinematography is just stunning. I mean, you put it up against anyone else, I think. And so that's why I like to champion these movies, because I'm like, and I love big blockbusters and big Hollywood movies and billion-dollar franchises, just like the next movie nerd. but everyone's talking about them. Let's give the little guy a little razzle dazzle. That's what I think.
Well, it's entertainment. Listen, we can all go back and have conversations about Roger Corman.
Right.
What Roger did was was so unique and so special, and the fact that he was able to give young filmmakers an opportunity to present what they did and give them a playground at which to better themselves, to move on in the career. I mean, you can just go on and on and on about the people whose first job came from Roger Corman. But the fact is, those Roger Corman movies, a lot of them were really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And Seeds were really interesting. Death Race and Death Race 2000.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
And over the years, Rock and Roll High School. You
Yeah.
know, over the years, I have become friends and know a lot of filmmakers who Roger Corman gave them their start,
Yeah.
just like PM. PM was taking the same model that Roger did, where they knew they had a genre, they knew they could do this genre well, they could do it for a price, and they put together a team of people. I'm sure that Corey, and no, I know I'll speak for myself. The Bigfoot was not a retirement gig for me. I was not making a victory lap when I went and cashed my paycheck, but it was a good job. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate you finding these nuggets and you know endorsing them and supporting them. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful that this company in Sweden has picked up the negatives and has decided that it would be a decent piece of business to print some Blu-rays, to press some
Yeah.
Blu-rays and get them out there into the marketplace and let people enjoy them. I mean, my dad got, we lost dad about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was a wonderful guy. My dad would have, I'm sure, upstairs in heaven, he has a big smile on his face, knowing that movies like Bigfoot are finding viewers to this day.
Yeah. And also with someone like your dad, with Rance, he's such a figure that we all grew up watching. We've all seen him and yourself and Ron and others in so many things, that when in these movies like Bigfoot, he gets his little hero moment, you get a little lump in the throat. You get a little excited. You're like, yeah, Rance is doing his thing, and it's exciting. Having been a child star yourself, Clint, when there is a film like Bigfoot featuring, I think he was then on Home Improvement, Zachary Ty Bryan, do you offer advice? Are you asked advice? Do you observe? Do you try and help out in any way? Or do you just kind of sit back and go, oh, I remember being 13 and being on film set?
Boy, I always try to make myself available.
Right.
What I do is I usually will, I stay out of the young juvenile actor's head,
Right.
but I'll make myself available to the parents.
Right.
And the parents are usually people my age or now younger than me, but they will have known that I was a child actor, and they know that I've had these experiences. And I hope I don't give a lot of unsolicited advice, but I do, I'm available to people.
Yeah.
And especially with the parents, I will explain my memory of what their mindset is. And usually, once in a while, I'll see a distant parent. Once in
Right.
a while, and it's not a lot, but once in a while, I'll see some pretty good juvenile actor, and I'll go, God, he got dealt a bad set of parents here. This is not
Right.
bad, but ineffectual set of parents.
Yeah.
But I've also met lots of great, great young parents who are helping their children guide themselves through what is, a lot of times pretty tricky waters.
Right.
I just worked on a kind of a odd, unique horror movie called Buddy.
Okay.
And there were three young juvenile actors that were all, 10, 11, 12 years old. And there was a couple in particular that I worked with, and they were really, really good. And their parents really cared, and their parents were really protective and understood that it is a unique situation to be a child in an adult world expected to behave like an adult, except then when you're on screen, you come off being a kid. So
Right.
anyway, I've been there, done that, and again, not to repeat myself, but I certainly don't like to give a lot of unsolicited advice, but I always make myself available.
Yeah. Did you get to see much of the work with the actual man in the Bigfoot suit, or Steve Fink, who did the prosthetics and everything for the mask and the animatronics and everything? Were you involved? Did you see any of that just as an observer, or not really?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was around, listen, those guys, the people that worked the suit, they were busy.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
they like to show off that they had some servos and they could make the give animation, give life to the Bigfoot mask.
Yeah.
And the fellow, and I believe the fellow that was in the costume actually had a little bit of an industrial accident, and it was really purely an accident. I think one of the servos maybe sparked and caught fire, and it didn't send anybody to the hospital. And the guy was able to come back and go to work. It was just, listen, you got to realize, as I'm sure you probably do, the movie business, you know, it's it's active. There's stunts, there's electricity, there's moving around, and a lot of times the hours are very late. And
Yeah.
once in a while, there's an accident. Stunts can go wrong. Um, Equipment can fail. And I listen, I worked on a movie. I worked on a movie called The Wraith, where I wasn't around when it happened. That there was a bad accident where somebody died.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, it was the camera truck. The camera truck was filming this race, and the camera truck spun out and flipped over, and there was a couple people badly hurt, and one fellow lost his life. So, listen, industrial accidents happen.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I couldn't find out much about the guy in the suit. He'd been in a couple of things related to basketball, so I wonder if he hadn't, because he was very tall. I wonder if he hadn't been a basketball player at some kind.
Now,
I'm not sure.
listen, I'm completely s- guessing, but I believe I remember hearing that he played basketball at UCLA.
Right. Okay.
That he had been now I know he wasn't a star, but he had played on the UCLA basketball team.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
was
That
he,
makes
he was probably 6'6". They got a big guy to play Bigfoot. Big,
Yeah. You got to be.
got to be Bigfoot.
Yeah. Right. And so lastly, as indicated earlier, you've been really busy lately. You returned to the Star Trek universe in Strange New Worlds. You did a stint on soap opera The Bold and the Beautiful, and you starred in everyone's current favorite super gory horror franchise right now, Terrifier 3. Talk to us just a little bit about those eclectic experiences, what you're doing next, and then we can kind of wrap it up.
Well, listen, I love working, and the Terrifier. Those people couldn't happen to better people. They hit an absolute home run to start
Yeah.
with a little tiny movie and do well, and then make a bigger movie and do better, and then take $1.5 million budget or whatever they ended up spending on Terrifier 3 and have the success that it had.
Yeah.
Um, I just, the guy that plays Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton, couldn't be a nicer guy. Damien Leone, the director, Phil Falcone, the whole team. My wife Kat and I have profound respect and admiration for those guys. And so
Yeah.
that was fun. And listen, other things. I just worked on this movie Buddy that I
Yeah.
mentioned briefly. We shot it in Cleveland, and it's kind of a horror movie with a weird twist. I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but it's certainly unique. It's not Terrifier 3. It's psychological, a little more psychological in nature, and it's really interesting. And I play a really interesting character. I worked on a little movie in Chicago called Unarmed, that I feel like has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Keep working, and again, we are gearing up to do another Ice Cream Man. So, excited about that, and that would be my kind of directorial debut in the world of features. I would co-direct, and I'm gonna be the Ice Cream Man. So,
Yeah.
be a fun experience, and looking forward to shooting that. We got to get going. We got to shoot. We've had a couple of issues that we got the Screen Actors Guild strike that kind of stopped us, but anyway, we certainly are going to try to shoot in the early spring of 2026.
Well, I wish you all the best, Clint, as always. Huge fan of yours, sir. And I'm a huge fan that you have given me, as I said, every 4 to 5 years, you give me some of your time. And it's absolutely, it means so much to us film fans and us film supporters that you make yourself available. So again, huge respect, huge thanks. And congrats on everything you're doing, sir, because it's wonderful.
Well, thanks, John. I appreciate it. And in a couple of years, we'll do it again.
We have the opening gambit, which I'm very happy with the movie. We have the ending action sequence, which is lackluster, but it's fine. At least I'm getting something of it. And then in the middle of the movie, it's very much like, 3 minutes of David Rash, 3 minutes of the scientist, 3 minutes of Matt McCoy, a minute of Clint Howard, a minute back to with the kids and Bigfoot. Like it just jumps around, right? And although it has a propelling plot, really the plot is, do we keep Bigfoot in a cage or don't we? And what's really funny is there's one scene where the scientist shoots Bigfoot, I think 3 times with a tranq gun, and then goes, I can't go through with this. At what point shooting him with a tranq gun did you not just think, I'll give up?
We look at this, of course, the point of your show is to look at this through the eyes of a fan who is already a fan of PM Entertainment. Another thing that this podcast does for people, though, it introduces them to it and gives people an idea of things they don't know of, because a lot of these films are not known to the mass populace anyway. So I think to myself, as a teenage video hound who was looking at monster movies at the time when that came out, so I'm 15 or 16, I'm probably just 3 years too old for, I think, what they're trying to do. Yeah. Even that it is, like we said, in the 80s, these kind of action scenes and that would happen in kids' movies. It's strange that it happens that late in the 90s. And after that, it would never happen. But so I think if this movie was made by, like, I don't know, the Dukes of Hazzard or Wonder Woman television production team, and they did it in 1979, I think it would have been a huge TV success as a TV movie or something. If it came out in the middle of the 80s, at the beginning of home video, or even like 88 or something like that, I think there would have been a lot more acceptance of it. But I think of even a 12-year-old or to a 14-year-old watching this in 1995 when it comes out, I'm wondering what at all they would get from this, because people like you and I, who are fans of these actors and fans of the oddity of this, we actually can get through that bit in the middle, because we're like, all these little one scenes of these actors who are decent actors doing bad dialogue is quirky to us. It's touching to us. Imagine the audience are trying to get to, not knowing who David Rash is, and going, what is that guy doing? What is
going on? Why does he have long hair?
Yeah.
Why in the middle of a scene working out what he's going to do with Bigfoot does he break away from the plans and just shout at a guy about bones for 5 minutes and then go back to the desk? What's also odd is that, much in the same way that Karate Kid comes out in 84 and A Dangerous Place comes out in 94, the Harry and the Hendersons comes out in 87, and this comes out in 95. It almost feels like some of these movies where PM is the same can be said for Die Hard and Skyscraper. Like, it's some of these movies that PM are doing, they're redoing movies from 10 years ago. And it's almost like they're saying, people have forgotten like Karate Kid, so we can do a similar one now, right? People have forgotten Harry and the Hendersons, right? So we can do a Bigfoot movie. It's odd because they're often accused of being sort of Asylum-like, where they're trying to do mockbuster versions of big movies. But actually PM are doing their own versions of movies from 10, 12 years ago.
It has to be one way or the other. They have to, like Asylum, they have to do it instantly.
Right.
Or they have to do it like 20, 30 years later when they realize that this is a product that has survived this time and it's now retro cool and is going through some new media kitsch, and then you jump on it. But they're not. They're doing it under you're right, specifically the expectation that the main populace has forgotten the things that they're ripping off, which obviously we have not.
Right. Well, yeah, and Harry the Hendersons even had a TV series that the guy Fink worked on. So I mean, it's not that distant a memory, but it's just it's interesting, and I don't again, obviously I don't mind it because I'm doing the show on this production company, but it's just interesting because the Corman model that we talk about a lot when it comes to PM, especially the way they cast people, the way they often come up with a elevator pitch and a poster before they make the movie, except the way that they sold it overseas before they sell it over here, all that kind of stuff. That's the Corman model. What is unlike the Corman model is they don't sequelize a lot of stuff. So they're not doing, Ring of Fire 8 or, Rage 10 or whatever. They don't sequelize a lot of stuff, and they're not ripping off stuff that just came out of the headlines. You know what I mean? That whereas Carnosaur comes right off the back of Jurassic Park. Like Corman sees Jurassic Park and he's like, fine, we'll do Carnosaur. And he does, I think, Carnosaur 6 or whatever, and then realize that Carnosaur 6 just about ekes back a profit. And he's like, right, we won't make a Carnosaur 7 or whatever I forget how many Carnosaurs there are, but it's something like that. He tells the story. Corman tells the story on his Dinner for Five episode with Favreau, and he says, we did Carnosaur 1, 2, 3, 4. They all made profit, and Carnosaur 5 or 6, whatever the last one was.
Yeah.
Just eked a profit by a few $1,000s, and he was like, right, we won't be making a Carnosaur 8 or whatever it is.
I think Carnosaur 4 was re-released as Raptor.
Yes, okay.
And so they just released 4 twice and say, okay, that still didn't do it. We're good. So
Right. But so they take some of the Corman model, but then they also are defiantly like their own thing, which I kind of love. And while you get a lot of great scenes in this film, scenes that I cherish and scenes that as I watched the movie a second time today, out of one eye while I was working with the other eye, I stopped what I was doing and watched those scenes quite happily. There are also scenes in the middle of the movie that I couldn't tell you what was going on.
But for fans like us, I think there's lots of stuff in there for it. There are Little Bigfoot movies, which I have never seen either of those in completion, but I've seen clips online to death with the nightmarishly eye-blinking, Labubu looking faced creature, and the famous clip that's been on mash tapes forever, that's the extreme rip off of Harry and the Hendersons, where it's the little kid going, no, I hate you, you've got to run away, but I'll miss you. Which is so saccharine that I think at least they're aiming for a really little kid market finally for that. And I think that could probably have worked. If for a little kid to be put in front of this very saccharine, giant blinking eyed creature for a while, the rest of it didn't matter. That was there. That was their little kid thing. This is not borderlining on either of those. So the fun in it is knowing how these films are made, knowing the people who get involved in it, knowing these actors, and having these thoughts in yourself of like, what were they thinking? What were they doing is fascinating for guys like me.
Oh yeah, completely. I will say one thing though. Obviously, Echo Bridge owned PM Entertainment's catalog for a long time, and very frustratingly will release maybe one PM film in a box of 25 or one PM film in a bunch. And they put CIA Alexa and CIA 2 on, I don't know how many multi-packs. I'm like, why didn't you just do a PM multi-pack with 20 PM movies on it? Like, that would have been amazing. But
that's why I have Dangerous Place. I have that on a 10-pack with Keanu Reeves on the cover, as if he's going to be in, or he might be in a film, but the photo looks like John Wick. But it's obviously
right. It's not him. Yeah. But what they do even more frustratingly, and I understand that Little Bigfoot and Little Bigfoot 2 are not as related as those titles would have you believe, other than obviously the eponymous Little Bigfoot. But how frustrating is this? The DVD they released has Bigfoot and then Little Bigfoot 2.
I've seen that. Yeah, I do not own that one, but I have seen that.
How annoying is that? I'm like, I either put Bigfoot and Little Bigfoot 1, right? Or put Little Bigfoot 1 and Little Bigfoot 2 and put Bigfoot on a separate disc.
Little
But what-
Bigfoot and Baby Ghost. That's what I want as my double.
So yeah, but I have them all on VHS as well. So I'm a completist. I have Bigfoot, Little Bigfoot, and Little Bigfoot 2 on VHS. So
Well, because I have finally decided that no one was going to do anything with the copy of Unforgettable Encounters, I took that off the wall of Eyesore and I have taken it home. And
Good
no
for
one
you.
has noticed. No one in the store has noticed I stole it. So
and it's also interesting to note that the VHSs that I found online, Bigfoot, the Unforgettable Encounter, was released on VHS by Republic Pictures, not by the PM Entertainment home video label. And what's really interesting is that there are two occasions where, if you're buying them on VHS like I am, a lot of the regular what we think of as PM are released by PM Home Video. Then there's a bunch that they didn't even make that they released on the PM Home Video label.
right.
When they start to release some of their more softcore stuff, they release it on a completely fictitious label called Fantasy Video, which only ever released, I think, 5 titles, and they're all PM films. They're
Like
not
Full Moon Head with Torchlight.
right. So they have like Busted, the Corey Feldman comedy,
Right.
which also features 3 like strong softcore scenes because they're all softcore actresses in the movie. That was released on like Fantasy Video, and their Cell Block Sisters movie that they did with Gail Thackeray of all people was released on like Fantasy Video. So there's
Don't start me in a conversation about her. I could talk about her for a whole show.
yeah,
But
of
go
course.
on, continue.
Well, who doesn't love a northern lass from England with a large chest? Anyway,
Who later became a dog psychic.
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe she could have talked to Bigfoot.
Well, it's so funny because she did become a dog psychic, and I released an album. My band released an album called I think it was called Avocado Night Lantern by Gwyneth Paltrow's Dog Psychic. I don't know why. Anyway, but yeah, Gail Thackeray, it's fascinating. Jim Wynorski spoke to me about her, and he was like, I didn't include it in the interview, but he goes, do you see what she's doing now? And then just like laughed for 2 straight minutes.
And her 2 Wynorski films are some of my favorite films. So, well, you go look that up, people. Not Bigfoot related, but you know,
not Bigfoot related, big chest related,
big something else. Yeah.
And that's another thing. They should have done Little Big Chest or something. Or
that's a later Wynorski film, but he was doing like the films, the Hills Have Thighs and stuff like that.
Yeah. The Bear Wench Project.
That weird period of time.
Well, because she's very diminutive. She's not very tall.
Yeah.
But she's large, so she could be Little Big Chest. Do you know?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
We're talking about a children's film here.
And here's John Cross from the future just interjecting a little bit. Anyone who knows about Rule 34, if you don't look it up, will know that all things like this are inevitable. And indeed, in 2022, directed by none other than Jim Wynorski, Gail Thackeray did show up in a movie called Bigfoot or Bust. Well, there you go. As I said, Rule 34, Jim Wynorski, Gail Thackeray, Bigfoot or Bust. Of course it exists. Just thought you might like to know that. But what's good is, talking about Gail Thackeray and Little Big Chest, is the one thing we haven't mentioned in this movie that I just thought was absolutely delightful. And that is the female newsreader in this is called Misty Fails. And it comes up on the screen, and she's a very kind of like, she has like the big bouffant brunette hair and the big red lips, and she's obviously like a sexy newsreader type, and it just comes up with Misty Veils, which just sounds like a name that Jim Wynorski would put in the the Bear Wench Project or the Hills Have Thighs, starring Misty Veils. Like,
well, they definitely go into the weird media thing, because like the drunks who we get introduced to them more, and you feel like they should have more character, because you kind of get to know them when they go onto that talk show that seems like a Morton Downey Jr. ripoff thing. Like,
right.
It like that seems like that's going to play more into it. They really give you a real character that's interviewing them. So again, even these 2-second characters feel like someone cared to give them a gimmick.
Right. And it's that's what I mean. It's almost the accumulation of its parts. It's not quite the sum of its parts, because I don't know that they all add up to something.
No, but it's full of parts.
It's full of parts, and
Yeah.
they're all parts I like. And I'm sure if Misty Vales ever wanted to show us her parts, I would like those too.
Yeah, I mean, sure. All right.
It's played by Debbie James, plays Misty Vales. She is in LA Heat as in 8 episodes as Dr. Samantha Moorcroft. So she gets a full 2 names in that one.
And almost again sounds like a Bond type character right there
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
She did do 15 episodes of Passions, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
She did 20 episodes of Days of Our Lives. So I wonder if her and the scientist lady ever, crossed over. She was in other PM film, The Underground, which we just mentioned before as well. She was in LA Heat, Underground, Bigfoot, The Unforgettable Encounter. Was she in anything before Bigfoot with PM Entertainment? Not really. She did, however, was in the Roger Corman movie Future Kick with Don the Dragon Wilson, which would be the movie that I believe Maher saw and said we need to get Don in a film.
Yeah, because it's around that time, and also around that aesthetic too. That if I didn't pay attention, you just told me that was a PM film, like an early PM film, I'd believe it. It was probably, I guess, Concord. Is that what was at that time what Corman was?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it still felt like, borderline a sci-fi movie of the mid '80s, like the Sci-Fi Television Network, where it's like, oh, this has a lot of adult moments in it, but they're all placed mathematically in places that if they needed to be cut out, they could be cut out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, I have a copy of it somewhere in my lost valley of DVDs as a Future Kick.
Oh yes, most definitely. Future Kick is kicking around, and I believe that as part of the Corman early days of Shout Factory, when Shout Factory were releasing double and triple discs of Corman films, I believe they did do a Future Kick and one other movie double disc. Mm-hmm. So there is a Shout Factory Blu-ray, believe it or not, of Future Kick out there in the world.
Yeah, so for sure. I remember seeing that on the shelf.
Back when Shout Factory was doing that stuff.
So we have a Bigfoot movie. I love Bigfoot. I have maybe one of the only people you might know that has watched the Harry and Henderson's television series enough to have seen the episode where he has a wrestling match with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Nice. I didn't remember that. Other than the fact that basically that show was just Elf if he was tall. Right. But otherwise, same thing. But it does not compare. This movie is not 1970s Bigfoot and Wild Boy to me, or the Bionic Wild Boy from Bionic Man, which again, that's why I said if this was produced by like the Wonder Woman television production people and they did it back then, hit. Yes. If it was done later and he was legitimately a scary Bigfoot and there was like some danger to him, but he still befriends the kid, but he is actually dangerous as well, and it happened in like the early 2000s and a young Rob Zombie directed it. Still is a family movie, but disgusting hit. It just hits. It came at the wrong time when I think children didn't care enough about Bigfoot. They probably just thought, oh, it's we got a star from a big sitcom who the kids will love, and the kids were just like, oh, it's Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Oh no, it's not. It's the other one.
Yeah, right. It's the annoying one. No, I think that as I already talked about earlier, kind of what I would have liked this to have been. It's definitely an odd one because, like you say, it's sort of, even though there is no horror in it, and there isn't any real sort of out and out violence in it, it still feels, because of the sort of esoteric B-movie cast, that it doesn't appeal to either house. There's not enough violence in it to appeal to the people who love David Rash and Clint Howard, and there's not enough interest for the kids for it to appeal solely to kids.
Maybe if he danced at McDonald's at one point in the middle,
Right.
then
Yes.
it would have just,
Well, it couldn't have been McDonald's. Maybe if he danced at Wendy's,
right,
you know what I mean? Or
yeah.
at Taco Bell. Was Taco Bell around in the 80s and 90s? Probably. Right?
I'm going to tell myself that would be actually the best place for this movie to be
Yeah.
him dancing at a Taco Bell. Right, it's probably right at the dawn of the Yokiro Taco Bell advertisements and the selling of those little Chihuahua dogs. But instead, you would be able to get a Bigfoot from the Unforgettable Encounters with your chalupa,
Right.
and but you could buy it for $4.99 at that point. I would own it if that was
Yes.
the deal. I would have wanted it. Even if I hadn't seen the movie, I'd be like, this is the greatest idea. I need it right now. They missed out.
Apart from Sasquatch, is there a uniquely Canadian cryptid that never made it below the border? Is there a monster or a myth or a legend or something that is?
We have
unique?
Ogopogo.
Okay.
Ogopogo is our Loch Ness monster.
Okay.
It's a northern lake that has a 3-humped giant snake in it.
Nice. Okay.
The only times I've ever seen Ogopogo made into a movie is a Canadian movie, and
Okay.
probably referenced in an episode of Danger Bay.
Nice. Very cool. And lastly, then is do you believe that there is a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and if there is it related to Yeti / the Abominable Snowman, or are they completely different? Is it like bears and polar bears? They're kind of related, but not really.
I kind of think of them as bears and polar bears, where they are like, spatially the same, but they're not the same. And I don't know why, but I want to believe enough.
I want to believe it.
I believe enough that I'm going to say I believe it because I want to, even if it is just a really large hairy guy who's just been hiding out in the woods and been freaking everybody out. Good enough.
Good enough.
Just secretly, George the Animal Steel is not dead. He's just living in the woods, leaving footprints around, smells bad, and somehow people are connecting him to aliens nowadays to keep him relevant. I don't totally understand that, but if you go,
I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I can keep my fantasies separate. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. And what's odd is I was talking to someone the other day about this because I am I wouldn't say I'm a nihilist, but I'm a renowned disbeliever of most things that other people believe in. However, I was talking the other day to someone and they were like, well, do you believe in anything? Like, is there anything that piques your interest? And I went, yeah, I can make room for like Loch Ness and Bigfoot. And they went, what? And I went, I can make room that there are animals, because, there is a evolutionary process and dinosaurs and old, whether it's birds, whether it's alligators, whether it's whatever. There is an evolutionary process. We don't have all of the answers about absolutely everything of the thousands of years that this planet has been around. Do I believe that there is a giant lizard somewhere in a lake? Maybe not Loch Ness, but somewhere that could be hiding down beneath some kind of uber dark, deep Mariana Trench type place? Sure, fine. Go ahead. I'll accept that. And is there a Bigfoot roaming in the thousands of uncharted acres of the planet somewhere? I don't know if it's North America, but sure, why not? Let's that I can make room for.
It's one of those things that doesn't hurt to believe, but
it doesn't hurt to believe any of them. But no.
Well, yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, sure, I can just say that and I don't have to live up to it because it would be nice if it did. Will we find out that it's actually man bear pig hiding out there instead? Maybe. Sure. But I believe there's an opportunity for us to find something fun that we haven't discovered yet, which leaves ample opportunity for incredibly bad movies and incredibly great movies to throw darts at a wall and guess which creature is next.
Do we think it's time for Bigfoot to have its big budget day, a la Godzilla, a la King Kong,
Yeah. I think there's been people who have tried to, I've mentioned Rob Zombie because Rob Zombie had like a script at one point. But like an all American Bigfoot story. I think there's, the found footage world has played around with and made some fun ones out of it that's been accepted by the world. Even Bobcat Goldthwait did a found footage Bigfoot movie
documentary, right?
Yeah, well, whatever you want to call it. But it is Willow Creek was, but but I feel like someone needs to put some rock and roll into Bigfoot to make him fun for the kids, because a big snarling hairy guy is cool, but if you don't make him cool, well, he's gonna be a lost legend.
Well, all I'm saying is this, right? We have dueling Godzilla franchises between Japan and America again. And I like both of them. They're fine. Keep making Godzilla movies. I love Godzilla movies. And, Universal and their various subsidiaries are again going down the road of desperately trying to make Frankenstein movies and Dracula movies and hold on to those IPs again, just like they tried to with Tom Cruise Mummy and Dracula Untold and all those. They keep trying to make some kind of Universal Dark Worlds kind of Marvel universe for monsters, right? However, of all of these things, whether it's the Godzilla and the giant monster franchise that we're getting at the moment with Mothra and all those things, or whether it's Dracula and Frankenstein's monster and all those things, or whether it's the Transformers or any of these big franchises, why do we not have a weird we don't have two things. We don't have a Cthulhu, Lovecraft, mad monsters of other dimensions kind of franchise, and we don't have a cryptid franchise. And there are so many cool cryptids, and you could start with like Bigfoot and like the Jersey Devil, one of those, right? Well, we've had Megalodon, I suppose. That's considered a cryptid. We did get the Meg with our boy Jason Statham. But yeah,
the X-Files didn't even exploit Bigfoot enough. Right. I think it comes up. They did a Jersey Devil episode. That's what made me think of it. But yeah, even they didn't do it. Again, the 90s, I don't think was a time for Bigfoot.
Right, and it's international. You've got Chupacabra you could have from South and Central America. You've got various like lizards and weird little creatures and things like that you could use. You've got Bigfoot, obviously. You've got various sharks and various old dinosaur type things like Loch Ness, like the I don't know how to pronounce this is from the Republic of Congo, but you've got the Mokele Membe. I don't know whether that's a well-known one.
I have to look at my cryptid poster I have somewhere in my other room, but I do literally have like a listing.
Yes, from Lake Simcoe in Ontario, Ego Pogo.
Pogo, yeah.
Well, there's Ego Pogo and then there's Ogo Pogo.
Oh.
Ogo Pogo is apparently in Lake Okanagan in Canada.
Yeah, right.
And
Simcoe
Ego Pogo is in Lake Simcoe. And
that's closer by. And you think if he's Ego Pogo, he'd want people to see him more.
Right, exactly.
I'm better than Ogo Pogo. I'm Ego Pogo.
But you've got in Britain, you've got the big cats. You've got Loch Ness. You've got in Massachusetts, you've got the Dover Demon. I mean, come on now. Let's get a cryptid franchise together. Why not?
We've got the never-ending line of yokai for Japan. So I mean, the rest of the world has their things. They should do it.
They should.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And with Bigfoot alone, there's so many interpretations of it. I think there's a bit where we've had so many bad movies in it, so no matter what you do, people are going to expect schlock. So they may not be ready for that. But I think there should be a few things to change the pop culture to make them cool again.
Yeah. And if you want a King Kong style character, you've got the Florida skunk ape.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, and in that sense too, there is also, connecting back to my hometown of Toronto, there's Yeti, the creature of the 20th century. I don't know exactly when that was made, but where they bring a Yeti to Toronto. And he is a giant Yeti. He's a Kaiju Yeti and has a very weird scene where they close up on one of his Kaiju nipples, which I cannot do any. I can't explain it. You have to see it yourself.
I will watch that. And then, of course, everyone is screaming at their various podcast things, being like, he hasn't mentioned Mothman yet. We all love Mothman. So, listen, I think...
Hey, Mothman had your Richard Gere attempt. You had your big Hollywood chance with your chapstick.
Yeah, right.
But, and it had sequels, but... Now, Mothman's on his way to being cool again. Everyone shows pictures of that statue with the nice butt, and so wherever that one is. But
Mothman is back in the zeitgeist because my friend Matt Farley, who you must have seen his movies,
absolutely, yes.
And I just was at a screening of his latest one, Evil Puddle, on Friday night,
yep.
which is phenomenal. I mean, such a great movie, and not just because I'm in it, but but he had that one of the songs of his that went unexpectedly viral, or certainly viral for Farley's world, was his Mothman song.
Mm-hmm.
He did an album of like alien and cryptid, local legend type, urban legend kind of.
And the cryptids themselves are cool with the kids, because the kids are adding, like, Mothman's popular on the internet specifically because of a lot of downloadable survival horror games and things like that reference those kind of characters. Though the post, creepypasta is not cool anymore, but it's from that world. It's the next thing where those kids grew up a little bit and they were looking into other creepy local stories. That is a thing, maybe locked on the internet more than it is to the popular world. Maybe we need a Bigfoot cartoon, and then later on someone will make a really big, cool Bigfoot movie, but somehow we'll make it star Jared Leto, and we won't want to see it ever anyway. So
no, never put Jared Leto in anything
ever again. Yeah.
But no, I think that's my pitch to the world, to whoever's listening, and I don't care. It can be a very, very low budget shot on video thing, but and how wonderful. Imagine this. Imagine a filmmaker in Florida makes the Skunk Ape movie, and Matt Farley up in Massachusetts makes the Dover, whatever it was that I just said a minute, the Dover Demon movie.
Right.
And you make a Sasquatch movie or whatever it is, and people all around the world, someone in England, one of my filmmaking friends in Britain makes a Nessie movie or a English Big Cats movie or whatever it is.
Right.
And they're all they don't necessarily have to connect, but we make a bunch of them. We each make our own little independent movie, and then we all get together and like make the big one where they all fight.
And it'll be much better than when this Winnie the Pooh series of movies gets together for the Pooniverse, they say.
Yes.
Well, but the cryptid wars.
Careful how you say that.
Yeah, I mean, they got to know what they wrote on those posters. They said that eventually those movies will come together, and they wrote that. There was a whole poster that just said the Pooniverse.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't think we'll survive long enough to get that movie. But getting cryptid wars will happen someday, and it will be better than Bigfoot versus Sasquatch that was made by the Polonia brother, which I love the Polonias, but I'm not putting that movie on my recommendation list.
Well, excellent, sir. Excellent. So let us, as we always do when we're wrapping up at the end, do you have any final overall thoughts or favorite scenes that we did not discuss or we did not already say?
No, I think we got into them. I mean, it's the starting point for this film is watching these actors try to fit together. It's watching the challenge is what makes this film. No single scene makes the magic of this.
Right. No, agreed. And do you have a ranking? And this is probably going to be difficult because it's probably going to fall pretty low, but a ranking within PM Entertainment films.
I mean, if you're going to compare to PM Entertainment films, and if you are a PM Entertainment fan, no, it's going to be pretty low. You're going to put it at like a 2.5 out of 10 because you want big action on here. And there are lots of PM Entertainment films that are good that are not just those big action films, but this movie makes you think it's going to happen. And that is what's going to disappoint you. If you're going to watch this movie, get that out of your mind and open yourself up to something else and come in for a laugh. If you come in for a laugh, you'll have a great time. If you're just comparing it to other PM Entertainment films, no, it's going to be like a 3.
Yeah, so on Letterboxd, which is what I use to kind of catalog this stuff, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I might be being a little generous. It might be 2.5, but I gave it a 3 out of 5. And I place it at Out of the 50 I've watched so far, it's like down. It's down in the last 10. Yes, and you can follow me at. Unfortunately, I'm on Letterboxd as John Cross or the After Movie Diner, rather than because I started it a long time ago before I even had the PM podcast. But if you look up After Movie Diner or John Cross, you will find me and my PM Entertainment list. Which I think I have to add some to because I think I've watched since then because I updated this last 27 days ago. So I've definitely watched a new PM since then. All right. So, well, tell everyone where they can find you, what they should be watching, what they should be looking at, what they should be listening to. If they want more Adam Thorne in their life, where do they go?
Famously, I am Riot at the Movies. It's where you find me on Instagram or Facebook or what have you, or YouTube, to follow the no budget films I make, the events I put on. But the main place to find me these days that I support is on the YouTube channel WOC Archive, which stands for With Original Commercials. It's a site that posts every day backup television footage that my friend and podcast partner Morgan White archives, and once a month he and I talk for about an hour or two about a specific subject or have a guest on. An upcoming guest we have is a Canadian puppeteer who, for Canadians, this will only mean something to them, who created the children's television show Nanaland. He'll be coming on our show very soon because he is going to talk to us that he is going to make his first horror movie. So we're going to meet a legendary children's television creator who is going to verge into horror. But we've been doing that for years. There's lots of archive on that channel about the shows we've done as the Video Hosers, where we also do live shows around Ontario these days. And hopefully we'll cross south of the border soon when we feel comfortable.
Yes. Yes. And I will cross north of the border when I feel comfortable.
The one project I'm behind is called Farces of Death Part 2,
yes.
where friends that I know make silly little scenes of a failed stunt, and I wrap it around as a scientist who's going through footage of what's supposed to be scary real death, but everything is just a pratfall and has a honk wooga wooga sound. Nice. And our sequel to that will be coming out, and we'll be releasing at the end of the year a Blu-ray that has part 1 and part 2 on it, so people get several hours of many different filmmakers from around the world. We even have, on the new one, we have a really fun Spanish film director who made a film called Revenge of the Shitters, and he just sent me a short 2-minute bit to add to my film where one of his creatures called the Shitters makes a cameo. So look forward to that tomfoolery.
You are now leaving the PM Entertainment Podcast.